Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
Hello, TikTok. This is maybe embarrassing that I'm making this because if you know me in real life, you know that I don't believe in ghosts. But the truth is, I think that I'm either experiencing something slightly, possibly paranormal, or I'm on the brink of like a nervous breakdown, and it would be way more cool if I was just being haunted and didn't need to like go in for a 72-hour hold. So, let me know if you think this is paranormal. Okay. I've had very freaky dreams since I was a kid where I will wake up and think that someone is in the room with me. Like I'll have a dream, you know when you have a dream that's really short and you feel like you're falling and you kind of like jolt awake. I will have that, but it won't be because of a sensation that I'm falling. It'll be a sensation that like this overwhelming feeling that someone is like in the room and that I need to be awake because someone else is like awake and in the room. And I always thought when I was a kid that it was like a social anxiety thing and that I probably was just like worried about acting inappropriately in a social setting, like falling asleep when my friends are over or something. But it's become a lot more sinister since my boyfriend and I both moved into new places last August. And it started at his place, and it used to only happen at his place, and now it happens like anywhere that I am. I would say at least once a week, if not multiple times. I will have that feeling, like overwhelming sense of like I need to be awake. Um, and then I will see, it's like still kind of in this like half conscious state, my boyfriend or my mom or my sisters standing at the edge of the bed screaming, like agonized screaming, like mouth wide open, demonic, like really terrifying. And the first time it happened, I like almost got out of bed because I was so convinced that my boyfriend was actually standing at the end of the bed, but he was like asleep next to me. Very weird. But the point where I am curious if I am having a nervous breakdown or if I'm being haunted is the fact that I've started seeing this when I'm awake. I'll be like walking around my apartment, and if I turn a corner really fast, I will get that sensation of like when you wake up from a dream and you can still kind of like see the imprint of the dream behind your eyes. And I'll see sometimes myself screaming, sometimes my boyfriend, sometimes like a family member. And I don't know what to do about it. I don't know how to get it to stop. Um, so let me know if you think I'm experiencing something paranormal.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. I'll go first.
So, I have another ghost story. Well, it's not really a ghost story, but it's about some supernatural, spooky shit that's happened to me, I guess, in my life. Everyone knows I'm no stranger to paranormal, spiritual things, ghosts, all of that. I tend to see a lot of it. So, this story would be about my grandmother and about how I prayed this gift of mine away, or at least tried to. So as in my previous videos, you know, when my grandmother passed, we were really close. And when she passed, I still communicated with her. I still seen her. We still talked. And I thought it was normal until I kept expressing myself to everybody. And of course, it was either familiar spirits, that's not my grandmother, or, you know, all of the above. Everyone knows, you know, the rundown people give you. But anywho, it was made to me to not be normal. Like, you're not supposed to be seeing those things type deal. So up until those moments that I started expressing myself to other people. Now, when I was keeping it to myself, I was just living my best life. I was talking, we were playing, we were, you know, I was living my best life. Nothing was crazy about it to me. But anywho, the older I got and the more I was told that, hey, that's not supposed to happen, that's not this. The more I was just like, okay, so wait a minute. I'm the only one that's seeing this and nobody else is seeing this. So the older I got and the more I would say conform to society that I became, then the more scared I got of the things that I was seeing. So now I'm just freaking out like, oh my God. Now, mind you, I'm a horror girl, okay? I love scary movies. I love scary stories. I love all of that. It's very interesting to me. I believe that the majority of the things that I watch is true. I really believe it, you know, and I'm just a horror girl. I'm a scare tactic, but I'm also scared of the dark. So, as I stated, as time went on, I was more scared. So, I am now, like, we're communicating. Me and my grandmother is communicating. So, now I'm telling her, hey, look. And I've always been a jokester. So, when I go to her, I'm like, hey, look. Unless you want me to be on the other side with you, you're gonna have to stop coming to visit me. You're like while I'm awake. I mean, if I'm asleep, I'm dreaming. In my head, I can kind of pass it off as a dream. I'm dreaming, you know. But hey, you know, me and you walking through the kitchen together. I don't think that should be happening, from what I'm told, basically. So as more time went on, as I stated, the more scared I am. So I'm like, now, please don't come visit me. Don't come visit me while I'm awake. If you come see me in form, just let it be in a dream, you know, and my anxiety will be better. My heart probably won't stop from being scared. Like, people die from being scared to death. Like, that's literally a thing, and I don't want to be in the number. So, I mean, of course we were close. So she did stop coming to see me, like in the physical form. I would see her in my dreams, but she actually stopped coming to me. But the crazy thing is, I still wanted some type of contact with her. I still want to, even though she came to see me in my dreams, we talked, we communicated. So I had this thing where I started writing her letters. And I would put them in certain places, and I would tell her to move them. You know, if she's there, just move them. Don't come see me, but just move my letter around. Let me know, you know, that you're still here. And because now I don't have that, I wouldn't say physical, because of course she was not physical, but I didn't have that full apparition to go off of. I didn't see you with my eyes. And of course, you know, all humans use their senses. So, hey, we got to see some shit to know it's there. So that was the closest that I could get to seeing and knowing without seeing, you know. So I started writing her letters, and I would write her letters, and that's how we started communicating. She would move the letters. She would sometimes tell me where the letters were moved to. And some letters I never found. Like, some letters she just took and they were just gone forever. But that's how we started communicating, when I called myself praying this thing off of me. But it didn't go too far. Now, granted, I don't see a lot of full apparitions. After that, I didn't see a lot of full apparitions anymore. Like, I was fucking terrified, okay? I became very terrified while still watching scary movies and keeping up to date with all the spirits and ghosts and paranormal shit that's going on in the world. But I didn't want to see any apparitions, like, especially if I was somewhere alone. Like, I would be in there praying, oh my God, please don't let me look up and see somebody standing in the corner, because I just begin to feel like that, hey, if I see it, my heart is going to shut down and all my bodily organs are going to stop on me. Is what I made my mind believe. Like, it's crazy, but anywho. But I guess that's another one of my good ghost stories. I have a lot more I would tell. Just let me know if you guys want to hear them. It's just little things that happen after I prayed that I didn't see her apparition anymore. And she didn't come to me in full apparition mode, like in full, you know, body. I guess I don't really know what you call it, but she still came around and did little things. Turn the radio on, turn lights on and off, move things, and I loved it. Long as I didn't see her anymore, I guess, people made me believe that I should not be seeing these things. These are abnormal. These are, people just, made me afraid when, that's why you should just keep secrets. You just shouldn't tell people, you shouldn't just tell people everything, because I wouldn't be terrified right now if I didn't express what I was seeing at a young age. But anywho, that's neither here nor there. But that's my ghost story. If you guys want to hear more, just let me know. Toodles.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds complete.
So I already made one video, but I'm going to make another one because this house was so haunted. Okay, so if you didn't hear it in the last video, basically me and my friend lived in the same neighborhood, and both of our houses were very haunted. I'll have to get her to tell me some of the stories from her house because honestly I don't really remember. But for my house anyway. So this was very recently after we had moved there. Me and her were literally in my bedroom, and it was like a Jack and Jill leading to another bedroom, and literally like basically all the doors were open, so you could see all the way into the other bedroom. And me and her were literally like 13 years old, taking like, those cringy selfies like on the laptops and everything. But we were doing, I think this one was on our phone. Yeah, it was on our phone, and we took a selfie, and then we were looking at it later, and we saw a hand on the door, on the back of the door, going like this. And it was like long gray fingers. There was nothing on the door, that could have been. It freaked me and her out really bad, but it was on my little old 3GS phone that I dropped on the concrete base, like the basement had a concrete floor. I dropped it, and it just wouldn't turn back on. I couldn't get the picture. But yeah, another time I was sitting in my room. She was in the bathroom. The door was wide open. We were talking to each other, and the bathroom, the door in between us slammed shut out of nowhere, just slammed shut. She, kind of comes back, opens the door, like, why did you do that? And I was like, I've been sitting here. She was like, and we were like, oh my God. And there was nothing it could have been either, It was insane. I remember my little brother, he has autism. And at this time, he was like 6, 7, I was 12, 13. He was sleeping in the living room because he was like scared to sleep in his own room at the time. And he was sleeping in the living room, and we had a really high ceiling that you could see. There was the thing on the second floor overlooking the living room, and right there was my room, connected to the attic, by the way. And I remember it was like 3 a.m. I was downstairs making pizza rolls because, I always stayed up so late. And he wakes up, he starts looking up there and just starts sobbing and pointing, just freaking out. And it was just dark up there, you know what I mean? But he obviously saw something. And that house was just creepy in general. I still have dreams about that house. That's where my sleep paralysis started. And there was just so much stuff that happened there. One time I had a friend over. We were in the pool backyard. In the backyard. And she was outside. I was inside making food. And I guess I thought she had come back in because we had this hallway kind of like connected to the kitchen, and I could see like a shadow, you know, walking down the hallway and stuff. And I was like, hey, how much do you want, you know, for the food? Like, how much do you want? I was like, what are you doing, you know? And I look over there, there's no one there. I look outside, she's jumping into the pool. I'm like, what the hell? Anyways, this video is getting a little too long, but I have more.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. I'll go.
My grandfather lived in a haunted house, and I know how crazy that sounds, but every member of my family has a crazy ghost story about that house. I'm going to tell you one of my favorites. Okay, so my grandpa's in this house he grew up in, and there's all kind of crazy shit would always happen there. And one day, his friend comes over. Now, my grandpa is used to crazy stuff happening in this house, okay? He's unfazed by it. But his friend is sitting there at the dinner table with him, and they're just having a conversation. It's just them two. And the friend's name is, we'll call him Fred. And Fred's sitting with his back against the wall in a chair, right? And my grandpa's talking to him. And all of a sudden, my grandpa says that Fred's face just went pale white. And Fred got up without saying a word and just walked out of the house. So next day, my grandpa sees him outside because they're neighbors. He says, Fred, what the hell happened to you yesterday? You didn't even say bye. You just got up and left. You okay? And Fred said, someone was playing with my hair. So as he sat there with his back against the wall, he felt a hand, the fingertips run up through his scalp and grab his hair and pull his head back. And that sends chills down my spine. And if you like this, I'll tell you all the other crazy shit.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely.
Okay, so everybody telling their ghost story. Let me tell mine. Now, I laugh about it now, you know, but I still, like, when I think about how I actually felt, I still get chills from it, but it's like, it's in the past. But check this out. So I was young, right? So I say around the age of, about 11, 12-ish, somewhere around there. I was at my dad and my stepmother's house. I think they stayed in Lawrence. They had literally just got the house, like, not too long ago, whatever. And it was a beautiful house. I'm talking about, to me, it was just gorgeous. And, it was nice, but I did feel some type of, like, I can't really call it, but it was beautiful, but I couldn't put something to it. I couldn't put the words to it. It just felt kind of weird being there. But it's like, I thought it was just me, so, you know, I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm young anyways, who gonna listen to a kid? But okay, so long story short, it's nighttime and everybody sleep. And I think my stepmother was at work or something like that. I don't know. For some reason, she was missing it. She probably did head to work. But, everybody was asleep, and for some reason, I just couldn't get comfortable. Like, me and my brother, we had our own rooms or whatever. So, I was sleeping in my room, and I just could not get comfortable. Like, it was so weird, bro. I'm talking about, like, I'm tossing and turning. I'm trying to sleep, and the whole time I was like, I was asleep, but I wasn't fully how I wanted to be. You know that feeling, like, that comfortable sleep, like, all snug? No, I felt cold. So in the midst of me sleeping or whatever, like, I mean, I was knocked out at one point in time, and then all of a sudden, randomly, I felt like some pressure just go up my bottom, my butt, okay? As I said, we laugh about it now, but back then, bro, that was violating. I don't like that. I don't be liking that type of stuff. So yeah, I felt that huge pressure, and so I jumped up. Like, I woke up scared. I'm like, I looked around the room. I'm like, I'm all out of breath. I'm trying to figure out, like, what's going on? Like, who just touched me, bro? Then I done looked on the side of the bed, and then, see, I don't know, it could be my blackness, but I looked on the side of the bed where I had to get up and run. Shoot, if ain't nothing down there, I'm about to jet out the room. Whole time I did, and I went to my daddy's room, right? I went to his room. I told him, Daddy, somebody just touched me. Go check it out. I'm so serious. Like, I just got violated. He's like, what? You know what I'm saying? He got mad. We all sleeping or whatever, but I guess he thought I was joking. He said, what? Ain't nobody touch you. who in this? Let me go see, you know. All right, so he went to go see, like, he checked it out or whatever. He was like, ain't nobody touch you. He said, you know, you probably had a bad dream or whatever. All right, like I said, they didn't go listen to a kid. I wasn't tripping on it. It is what it is. So after that night, whatever, we all went back to sleep. I slept in my daddy room. And, yeah, I wasn't fooling with that house no more. Like, I said, I'm about to go back to my mama's house. Yeah. So I hit deuces on folks. So, like, I don't really think I was up there that often. Like, I want to say they actually moved. Like, that lets you know I don't think I went back to that house because I was violated. And, like, I told my mama about it. You know my mama ain't playing about me, bro. She's not playing about her kids, period. But, yeah, so I never went back to the house. And I'm not sure when this happened, but my dad eventually told me, like, I mean, we talk about it now or whatever, and, like, he tells me about, I guess, how he felt at the moment. But he told me he eventually got a call from this man or somebody was calling him and they cussed him out. Talking about, oh man, you pedophile or you rapist, or it was one of those. I'm not quite familiar with what it was, but obviously the person who was there liked kids. So, long story short, they asked, well, after he got that call, you know what I'm saying, they was like, I guess they was confused about what was going on. And they ended up asking the person who they was renting the house from about, you know, a story behind the house. This woman didn't tell them her husband died in the house. That would have made sense to say that before somebody moved in, right? Maybe it's just me. But no. She told them her husband died in that house. And I think they did some background checking on everything just to find out that I believe he was a pedophile. Her husband was a pedophile or something like that. So I knew I wasn't tripping. And like I said, we laugh about it now, but back then, just feeling that, I ain't with all that. Like, I don't think I ever been with it. But to wake up traumatized as a child, feeling that, and you're not able to explain or to express how you feel, like they don't believe you, people don't believe you, but you know this happened to you, and like, I don't know, I was freaked out, and like, I still feel chills about it, literally just talking about it right now. It's so weird, because it's making me remember how I felt at that moment. Like, I'm not joking, bro. I'm not. But yeah, that's crazy, bro. I have more stories to, you know what I'm saying, to tell the world, but I don't know. It's just the whole of me saying something and people not believing what I'm saying or what I'm seeing, when the whole time I know I be on point. I don't be tripping, but I just stay quiet about certain things like that because everybody not gonna listen to you. So
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
Okay, this one is about the university that I went to. It has a ton of different ghost stories. That campus is 1,000% haunted. You cannot convince me otherwise, whether those stories are true or not. Something weird going on there, okay? One of the stories is about a little girl named Danielle, and the story goes that her father was a part of the construction team for some of the buildings when the campus was still developing and being built. And she wandered off into the woods behind one of the dorm halls and never came out of those woods. So supposedly she died in those woods. I don't know, again, how 100% true that story is or not. There is a photo of this girl, though, that I don't remember if it hangs up somewhere. I remember it was in the office that I worked in while I was on campus. It was really creepy. They tell you at literally orientation that if you see a little girl wandering around in a little white dress and a bell, and you don't want her to be following you around, to tell her you don't want to play games because she loves playing games. I don't really think about this at all. I'm busy worrying about school, worrying about making friends, all of those things. And I do make some friends. They're on the same floor as me in the dorm that I'm living in. And we start ding-dong ditching each other before we go to class. So we knock 3 times on each other's door and then sprint as fast as we can down the hallway. Everybody always gets caught because nobody can run fast enough. The hallway is long as hell. And I don't know, it was just, you know, our way of like making friends and saying hi to each other before we went to class. It was a stupid, you know, little game. one day we're all hanging out in one dorm room together, minus one of our girlfriends, and we hear the knocks on our door and hear a girl laughing, and we hear footsteps running down the hallway. And so we open up the door to see if she's out there ready to come, like join us. That was her way of being like, let me in. And nobody's in the hallway. And we call out for our friend, thinking she's hiding around the corner or something. And she's not there. So we all go sit back down, don't really think anything of it. We're like, maybe she was on her way to go get coffee and was just knocking on the door or whatever. So she comes later, and we were like, how did you run down the hallway so fast? We didn't even see you. And she says, what are you guys talking about? Like, I've been in class this whole time. So we were like, okay, weird. We chalk it up to just somebody else playing our game with us, and then we move on with our night. We put on a movie or whatever. I get up and I'm washing my hands in the sink, which is right by the door, and I hear the knocks, the laughs, and the footsteps. And I mean, the sink is right here. The door handle is like arm's length away from me. So I lean over and open it and look either way down the hallway, and nobody is there. And I'm like, there is no way somebody ran that fast down the hall for me to not be able to see them. I was right next to the door. So the next day, I am in my dorm room by myself. Everybody else is in class. I don't have class at this time. And our beds are pretty high off the ground. You need a ladder to get on top of them. So I decided I'm just going to take a nap on the floor. We have these mattress pads that we used for when people came into our dorm room, so they would have more places to sit. And I'm just going to take a nap on one of those. So I lie down, I fall asleep, and then I hear the keys to the front door, and then I hear the front door slam shut. They were very heavy doors, so it like made a loud noise whenever it shut. It did wake me up, but I'm kind of like, still groggy. And I hear, what I assume is my roommate walk into the room. I hear her climb up her ladder and get in her bed. So I'm like, okay, she's gonna take a nap too. And then I can't sleep. And I just feel like someone is staring at me. And I'm thinking, this is gonna be really weird if I open my eyes and my roommate's just staring at me. But I do it. And when I look up, peering down at me, I just got the chills. I don't even want to say this in this room right now. Peering down at me is this little baby face, like hands gripping onto the side of the bed, looking down at me. I can't right now. It sounded like something moved in my closet. Like I heard it. Which is why I turned so fast. I should have just told this story in my car or something, because now I'm scared. But anyway, so I saw this face or whatever, and I pull the blanket over my head, and I'm panicking because what do? I saw it so clearly, and I remember grabbing my phone, and my hands are shaking so bad, and I'm trying to text my friends, like, can somebody please come to my dorm as soon as you get out of class? And I end up just lying there underneath my blanket until I know that everybody is out of class and free to come save me from whatever is happening in my room. So they all come knocking, and I let them in. I'm telling them about what happened, and I said, that's why I texted you guys. And they all look at me and go, what text? You never sent us a text. So I'm looking at my phone because I know I saw that message send, and there is no message from me at all to any of them. So we all decided that we were not going to ding dong ditch each other anymore, and we say, Danielle, we don't want to play this game with you anymore. We're sorry, but we're not going to play it anymore either, so please go find somebody else to play with, because it is not us. We are not the ones, please. And that was the last experience that I had specifically with Danielle while I was at the university.
Tell me a ghost story. That sounds completely unbelievable.
Okay, so when I was like 10, in 2010, we had moved into this neighborhood in Alabama, and just a very normal neighborhood. And my best friend lived in the same neighborhood, and her house was also haunted. And we later found out that it was, Native American land. And, anyways, so this particular story, one night my friend was sleeping over, and I had woken up in the middle of the night, and, me and her had watched a movie that night, and so my TV was lit up like blue, just like very blue, illuminating the whole room. And I woke up, I saw my TV, and I was like, I felt really cold. And so I look over, and leaning over me, there was a lady holding my hand. Just holding my hand, bent down, looking at me while I slept. And when I noticed her, I jumped back, And when she saw me notice her, she started jumping backwards until she hit, my TV, and then she just disappeared. She was wearing this, it looked like this black Victorian dress, and her hair was up in a bun. For her eye, she was gray, black dress, gray skin, no eyes. For her eyes, it was just black holes, And it didn't feel threatening at all. It felt I don't know, it felt like they were checking on me, but it scared the shit out of me. And there was multiple things that happened in that house, and honestly, there was something in there that wasn't as friendly, if you get what I'm saying. But I'll tell those stories too, so.
Okay, I never thought I was going to put this story on the internet, but I feel like I have to because everybody else's stories are so crazy. So when I was 12 or 13, I had these two friends, and they were sisters, and I invited them to come over to my house to spend the night. They spend the night with me, and my mom works from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m., so by the time I wake up, she is gone. I go downstairs to see if either of the sisters are awake, and one of them are, and we talk, and then we decide to go up to my room to leave her sister to sleep. We're talking, and we start talking about the paranormal and our beliefs, and then all of a sudden she's like, "Can I have a piece of paper to write with?" And I was like, "Sure." So I give her a blank printer sheet piece of paper and a marker, and then I go to the bathroom to wash my hands and come back, and I'm gone 30 seconds, and she is drawing a Ouija board, and she doesn't finish, but I tell her to stop. She's like, "Okay," and then they end up leaving later that day, and I decide I need to get rid of this Ouija board. And if you know anything about Ouija boards, you can't just throw it away. So I decide to burn it or bury it with salt. I'm pretty sure I burn it. I go on with my life thinking nothing of it, and then the next day my mom comes home and she stops me and she's like, "I could not sleep last night." Then I ask her, I'm like, "Why?" And she says, "I woke up in the middle of the night and I felt like something was in the room with me, watching me, and I couldn't sleep." She says she lays there for a really long time, and her back is to this walk-in closet and the door is open, and she feels weight on the mattress, and somebody gets in bed with her and lays down with her back to them. She says she's so scared that she waits until the sun rises, gets up, gets ready for work, and then leaves. And I'm like, that is so crazy because I did not tell her about this Ouija board thing. So I decide to tell her everything about the Ouija board and what happened, and we're both like, "That's really weird," and then we go about our lives. And that's when things get really bad. One of the things that happened was I started to become really scared of the dark, and I had never been scared of the dark or sleeping in the dark, but I started to feel like something was with me in the room, and I couldn't sleep because it felt like it was out to get me. The only way I can sleep is if I put my back to the wall and surround myself with blankets and stuffed animals. The other thing that happened is that I started having these nightmares, like vivid, satanic, hellish nightmares. I couldn't describe to you exactly what was happening, but I just remember there being fire and blood and human sacrifice and demons and really awful things. So me, knowing about occult and magic, was like, what if I started drawing religious symbols on me? So the next night I draw a cross and like a Trinity symbol and a couple of other things, and then I don't have the nightmares. And I was like, maybe that's a coincidence. The next day I wash them off, I go to bed, and then I have the nightmares again. So then the next night I draw them on me again and I don't have the nightmares. And at that point I'm like, okay, there has to be a correlation, and I draw them on me every single night that I go to bed and I don't have the nightmares. Another thing that happened was I remember things would go missing, and it was always something that you were looking for, like a sock or a pen. And this was something I knew was happening with my mom too, because she would like ask me, did you take this thing that I've been looking for? And I would be like, no. And we could just never explain where these things went, and they just disappeared. Another thing that happened was, even in the middle of the day, it just felt like somebody was with you, watching you, and was like out to get you. Like it was a deep feeling in your consciousness. Another weird thing that I noticed that happened was we had this little attic entryway, and there were handprints on that entryway, and I couldn't explain it because nobody goes up there. And then there's one final big thing that happened, and this is the turning point in all of it. You know how you learn how people move in your house, like their footsteps, how they close doors, and you learn who each of those people are just by the way they move? I'll come back to that point. I had just recently put all of my childhood things in a bin, like toys, stuffed animals, what have you, and I put them in the extra bedroom that we have. Being 12 or 13 years old, I was really bored and had nothing to do on this weekend, and my mom was gone, as usual. I decide to go through all of my childhood things just to entertain myself. I'm going through the stuff in this extra bedroom, which is at the top of the stairs. It's like 11 a.m. and all of a sudden I hear my mom come home. I hear her put the keys in the door, it open, her close the door, her pulling the keys out, and then her, which she always does, throwing the keys on this little table by the entryway. At that point, I'm really confused because it's like 11 a.m. and if she comes home early, it's usually like 3 or 4, but I was like, maybe she just came home really early today. So I'm sitting there waiting for her to come upstairs and she never does. I wait like 10 minutes and she never comes upstairs. So I'm like, maybe she went to the backyard to smoke a cigarette, which she sometimes does. So I go downstairs and I look in the backyard and she's not there and the door is locked. I'm like, that's really weird because I heard her come home. So I go to the bathroom downstairs, I check the living room and the kitchen, which are connected and open. She's not there. And I'm like, did she somehow come upstairs without me knowing or seeing her? So I go upstairs, I look in her bedroom, her bathroom, that walk-in closet, and she's nowhere to be found. At this point, I feel crazy because I'm like, how would she have gotten upstairs without me seeing? Is she hiding in my room or something? I go check my bedroom, the room I was sitting in, and the bathroom upstairs, and she's still nowhere to be found. And at that point, I'm freaking out because I heard her come home. So I go downstairs and I look outside for her car, and her car isn't there. And then I look for her keys, and her keys aren't even there. At that point, I'm really freaked out, so I call my great aunt, and we're Native American, so I know that they know how to bless a house. I explain to them exactly what has been going on and everything that had just happened, just barely. And I'm like, you need to come down here and bless our house because things are really bad and we're kind of freaking out. I'm freaking out. And she's like, okay, we can come, but it'll probably be like a week. And I'm like, okay, I guess we'll wait a week. So I somehow managed to take a nap in the middle of the day, even though I'm freaking out. And I wake up to knocking on the front door. I'm like, who could that be? I go and check the door, and it's my 2 great aunts and a family friend. My great aunt has this tree sap, which is like sage, I guess, and you're supposed to put it on like the doorways and the windows and burn it around the house to cleanse the house. So she puts this in a little pie tin, just like one of those aluminum ones, and we're walking around the house as she's leading us, and our family friend has me by the shoulders and is saying this prayer about like God and protecting me and whatever. We go around the house and we do the kitchen, the back door, all the windows downstairs, the living room, the front door, and then we make our way upstairs. We do the guest bedroom, the window in there, we do the bathroom, we do my room and the window in there, and all the doors there, and then we get to my mom's room. As my aunt is leading us with the pitch in hand in the pie tin, she gets to the threshold of my mom's walk-in closet, and this little flame that's about this big becomes 3 or 4 feet tall pillar of fire in an instant. It becomes so hot in that moment that my aunt has to drop the pie tin, and there's no explanation as to how that happened. There were no windows open, the AC or heating wasn't on, there weren't any fans on in the entire house. It was like completely unexplainable. And the pie tin got so hot that it left a burn mark on the carpet. Right after that, we looked at each other and we were like, that was so weird. After that point, we were basically done cleansing the house, and then they basically said goodbye to me. After that point, we basically didn't really have any issues. I was no longer scared of the dark. I didn't feel like anybody was watching me or was in the house with me. There were a few things that did happen that were kind of weird, but yeah, for the most part, that was basically it.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
Okay, so I never make TikTok videos, and I'm probably very late to this trend, but I have a fun story for this, so we're gonna tell it anyway. So when I was a kid, my cousins had in their family this summer house, which is exactly as bougie as that sounds. But this was up in the woodlands of Connecticut, so if you're unfamiliar, Connecticut is up in the northeast of the US. And as I said, it's kind of like this place is surrounded by woods. It was built in like 1750. It looks like your stereotypical like New England old house, but yeah, it's kind of a nightmare.
Okay, so the last time I was at this house a few years ago, I did snap some photos of it. So this is what the house looks like from the front, suitably spooky. This is what it looks like from the side, from the hollowed out pool. This is the hollowed out pool. As you can see, it's surrounded by woods. This is just a creepy basement. And the house also has a porcelain doll collection in the master bedroom, so that's fun.
And I don't know if it's the land that the house is on or the house itself that is like kind of spooky, because I've had stuff happen over the years, both in the house and outside of the house, and like everything from lights turning on and off by themselves, taps turning on and off by themselves. I've heard phantoms snoring in the house. One time I overheard this whole argument in the middle of a thunderstorm at like midnight on the back porch where nobody was out there, and like that porch overlooks the woods and the brook. So yeah, I don't know what that was. Another time I had a friend with me when we were teenagers, and we were like with some of my cousins, and we were out by the pool late at night, and she like gets out and she's like, "Oh guys, I hear my mom calling me like from the woods," and we're like, "Girl, that is not your mom, we need to go inside." Yeah, so anyway, when I was 7 or 8, somewhere in there, we were up there for Thanksgiving, I think, because it was cold outside. And we didn't usually go up there for Thanksgiving, but we were there with like my cousins and some of their cousins, so like a lot of extended family and everything. And at some point after dinner, all of the adults settled in to have a nightcap or whatever, and all the kids decided that we were gonna play a game of sardines. And if you don't know, sardines is basically just like reverse hide and seek, where like one person hides and everybody else goes to find them and then like tries to like pack into whatever hiding spot they picked. So it's my turn to hide, and for some ungodly reason, I decided that I was going to hide not only in the attic, but in this teeny tiny closet in the attic. Mind you, in this house, the attic is not like your spooky crawl space, like horror movie attic. It's like got a bedroom and a bathroom and everything, but it's still an attic in an old house. Like it's kind of creepy. So I go up there and hide in this closet. And the closet is also over top the steps leading up to the attic, which are old creaky steps, because what else would they be?
For context, this is the closet in which little me decided to hide, and you can see the stairwell just to the right of it.
And while I'm hiding up there, I hear the steps start creaking, and I'm like, okay, so it's like somebody's coming to find me, exciting. And I remember at the time like thinking that it was another kid playing the game, because it didn't sound like adult footsteps, you know, it didn't sound like my parents coming to get me or anything. So the footsteps come up, and I can hear them moving around the room, because you can't see anything through this door in the closet, like it's a solid wooden door, but I can hear them, and they kind of are like going around and then pausing and then going around and pausing, and it sounds like they're looking for something. And eventually they come around and stop right in front of the door. And on this door, the latch is on the outside of the door, so I like can't lock myself into the closet, and I can't lock anybody out of the closet. But this person comes to stand by the door, and instead of like throwing it open and being like, I found you, like now we have to hide together, they start jiggling the latch and like pulling on the door like it won't open. And then all of a sudden, I can't breathe, like at all. Like I went from like breathing normally and giggling to like cannot suck air into my body. Like it just feels like something is like closed around my throat. Being 7 or 8, I immediately panic and like start running downstairs to find my mom and dad, and like burst out of the closet into a totally empty attic, which at the time I didn't find that odd, like because I was busy not being able to breathe, but in retrospect, like there was not enough time for somebody to move away from the door and then like circle around to get downstairs and get to the second story without me like running into them or seeing them or hearing them in any capacity, and I didn't hear anything. So I run downstairs and I like burst into the dining room and like scare my parents a lot, because my dad like sees me come in wheezing and he's like, what the hell is going on? And I don't know why like an ambulance wasn't called or something, because I think everybody thought I was having like an allergic reaction, but that did not happen. They all just like ran me out of the house, like didn't grab my coat. My dad like threw down his drink and just like booked me out of the house. And the minute that I was out the front gate at the front of the house, I could breathe again. Like once I was in the street, like I was totally fine. I went from like wheezing and, you know, struggling significantly to like, okay, let's go home. So my parents are like, okay, crisis averted, cool, like let's take her back to her grandparents' house. And so I didn't find out until later, like when I was talking to my cousins and my sister and like all the other kids playing the game, that they had never gotten up to the attic. Like they never got past the second floor. They were still searching, and they were pretty much all together, because again, in sardines, the point is to like find the hiding spot and everybody gets in there, and then the last man standing is like the one that has to hide. So yeah, they were all trying to like find me together and didn't come up to the third floor. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure what that was. And unfortunately, I have had to go back to this house like many times over the years. And I'm also a lucid dreamer, which is super fun because every time I've gone back, for some reason, I've had to sleep in the attic, which honestly is a little bit rude. But I also have like horrifically vivid dreams when I'm there, and like I'm used to seeing weird stuff in my dreams. Like that doesn't usually bother me. But every time I slept there, I would have like the most horrific dreams of this little girl like dragging me down the stairs, or trying to drown me in the pool, or like dragging me into the woods. So yeah, and every other time that I went back, I never had any allergic reaction or like trouble breathing or anything like that. Like I just had all the other fun little inexplicable experiences in that house. But then my cousin sold it in like 2019, I think, so I no longer have to go back there, and that's pretty nice. Yeah, that's my little ghost story. So, you know, call me crazy, I guess.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
So let me just start off by saying that everything that I am going to say in this story is 100% true, and I am not over exaggerating anything. This is how it went down. I grew up in a household where a lot of paranormal and creepy stuff happened to me, and only me. So at a young age, I got accustomed to it, and by the time I was 16, 17, which is when this story took place, it wasn't that big of a deal to me anymore. This experience is an experience that I will never forget. It's an experience that is freshly printed on my mind, even though it happened years ago. You know, it's one of those experiences that I just will never get over, because it's just it sounds crazy, but it happened, you know? You understand? So where I'm from, there's this park, and that park is a nature conservative park. It's also a garden, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful, beautiful. A lot of people go over there to take their wedding pictures, their quinceañera pictures, you know, prom pictures, all sorts of things. But for as beautiful as it is such a dark place once nighttime arrives. The earliest documentation that they have on the land is from the 1860s, and from there it got passed down from different owners down until it finally got into the hands of the city. It is rumored that in the 70s there were meetings taking place over there that included sacrifices and rituals. A famous New York City serial killer is rumored to have attended those meetings as well. It is also believed that the owners from the 1800s and the 1900s were slave owners, and they would some people there. It is also believed that mafias would take, people they would want to dispose of over there as well. So with that amount of history on that land, it is bound to have spirits, roaming around. So we reached the second landmark on the trail, which is a boulder. Nothing at all. We didn't hear anything. We didn't feel anything. Literally nothing. So I looked at the time, and it's 1:30, and I was like, hey, maybe we should start heading back to the front because I want to be there at 3. They didn't want to be there at 3. We don't know what happens at that time. So we turn around, and as soon as we start walking back, I start hearing drumming. But not the drumming that you think I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ritual drumming. So I asked them if they hear it, and they look at me like I'm crazy because they can't hear anything. Mind you, we're in the woods. The only thing you can hear are cars passing by, but they're not close by. They're like a good couple miles away. You could hear it though. And it just starts getting weirder because after hearing the drumming, I started hearing chanting. But it's very, very faint. Very, very faint. And I asked them as well, do you guys not hear that? Nope. We don't hear anything. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, what do you mean? It's right there. But I noticed that it started getting louder. And at the time when it was getting louder, I saw a red light in front of us. And it was a dot. It started off as a dot. It was a red dot. And it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. Again, we were all heading the same direction. They did not see anything. They did not hear anything. As the dot was getting bigger, I noticed that it was actually a flame. And they did not see anything. It's pitch black. You would be able to see the light coming the opposite direction. But they didn't see anything. So, like I said, the light was a flame. And the moment I saw how it just like engulfed into a flame, I don't know how to explain it from a light to like that. I don't know how to explain it other than like it just went from doop, doop, right? Out of nowhere, I just see people standing in a circle in a gazebo temple. And they are all dressed in black robes. As I start seeing them, the chanting gets louder. As the chanting gets louder, the fire gets bigger. And I'm completely zoned into what I'm seeing. I forget that I'm with my boyfriend, I forget that I'm with my brother. I'm just in their reality. And as soon as the flame got full, I would say, it was pretty huge, the chanting stopped. And I guess their leader came out of the circle, walked towards the flame. He was holding a book. I don't know what it was, but I just saw that he had a book in his hand. And he takes off his robe, because it was covering, their faces. He takes it off, and he starts saying something. But I can't understand what he's saying, which I am very glad I did not understand what they were saying. But he starts saying stuff, and they're all just listening, and he gets louder and intense in the words that he's saying. And I'm just there staring, like, what are they doing? Are they doing what I think they're doing? And he screams at the end, like he yells something. He closes the book. But when he closes the book, the flame disappears, and they all disappear. And the next thing you know, I'm looking at trees again, and I have my boyfriend like, hey, are you good? I look at him. I look at my mother, and I was like, did you guys see that? And they both said, see what? There's nothing. There was nothing. We were just staring. We were staring his face. I was like, what do you mean? They were right there. I was explaining to them exactly what I saw. And oops, they looked at me like I was crazy. They looked freaked out because, according to both of them, they said that at the exact moment when I started seeing what I saw, I just stood there staring into nothing but the abyss, nothing but darkness. And I was not responding to them. They were poking me, they were touching me, they were like, moving me, shaking me, no response. So the moment I came back from, I guess, the vision that I saw, and they were more freaked out because they claimed that they didn't see anything, they didn't hear anything, that they were just talking among themselves. Meanwhile, I was just standing there. And I remember telling them and repeating to them, like, you guys, did you really not see what I saw? Did you really not see the people? I swear I saw people, I saw a flame, like I heard stuff. You guys not experiencing any of that. And they did not experience anything. So we left, and I remember leaving and feeling weird about the whole encounter. I didn't know what to make of it. I even went back the next day in daytime, and I went to go see specifically if the gazebo temple that I saw in my vision, or whatever I saw was there, but nothing in that part can mimic what I saw. I saw it over the cliff. It was like over the cliff, and there was a gazebo, and it was tall, and it just, there was nothing in the park like that. And yeah, I remember I went home, I couldn't sleep. I didn't know what to think about it, and that stayed in my mind for a good week or so because I was just still in disbelief and trying to wrap my mind in what I just finished seeing. Like, there is no way that I was the only person to experience that. But yeah, that's the story. And to this day, I don't have an explanation for it. I never had anything like that happen since then. I've had other paranormal experiences, but not something as crazy as that. And yeah, it's something that I'll never forget. It's a memory, unfortunately, that's stuck in my head. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
So this happened to my husband and I about 30 plus years ago. And maybe it's the Halloween spirit, but I'll go ahead and tell it. My first TikTok ever. We were watching a friend's beautiful Victorian outside of Doylestown, Pennsylvania. They were away for a week, and we were staying there, my husband and I. And we were watching the house primarily because they had this standard poodle, Bryn, who had a spinal injury, so she didn't have use of her hind end at all. And at night, she would get baby gated into the kitchen. We had a linoleum floor in case she had, accidents. But there was a baby gate in the hallway and one to this little sitting area. And we had gone to bed. We put the gates up and tucked her in and went to bed. And it was a spooky house unto itself. It was beautiful Victorian. And it happened to be a very stormy, rainy night, lightning and the whole thing, whole works. And in the middle of the night, the electric had gone out, the power had gone out, and was crashing thunder and lightning. And I hear Bryn kind of howling downstairs and crying. And I wake my husband up, and he reaches for the flashlight, and we're going down the steps. And we get to the kitchen, and baby gates are up, and we shine the flashlight. No Bryn, nowhere. But she's crying, and we're like, where is this coming from? And on the other side of the baby gate, in the little sitting area, was the door to the basement, and it had one of those old slide locks, and the slide lock was locked. Baby gate up. This is on the other side of the baby gate. Different background. Family came in and it got really busy and noisy. So Brittany's crying. We can't find her. She is not in the kitchen area. And we realize she's crying from the basement. The door is on the other side of the baby gate that is locked. The basement door is one of those old paneled wood doors, again with the slide lock. It's in the bolted position. My husband hands me the flashlight. He unbolts slides the door. I shine the flashlight down as he's going down the steps, and there she is at the bottom of the steps. Big eyes glowing in the flashlight light, staring up at us at the bottom of the basement steps. So he goes down and he gently scoops her up, walks up the steps, and we don't say a word to each other. I am absolutely freaked out. I can barely hold the flashlight. We put her on her dog bed, make sure the gates are secure. My husband shuts the basement door. We slide the little brass bolt over in the down position. We go back up to bed. I can't close my eyes. He is out in 2 minutes. I don't know, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes goes by. It's still storming. We still don't have power. We hear Bryn crying again. He bolts right up. He sits right up. I said, oh my God. We get the flashlight. We go down the steps, expecting something different. She is not in the kitchen. Baby gates are up. She is in the basement. We open the door, slide the bolt open, and there she is again at the bottom of the steps. Again, she cannot walk. She has no use of her hind end at all, and she's a big, big standard poodle. He scoops her back up. We go back up, tuck her in, go back to bed. We're both not sleeping. Maybe a half hour goes by. She's howling again, and she's really howling. It was kind of it wasn't a whimper. It was really scared. I am literally holding on to the back of his shirt as we're going down the steps into the hall, knowing full well she is not going to be in the kitchen. It happened 3 times that night, that she was down the basement with the bolt slid shut. Many, many years later, we ran into, actually my husband ran into our friends, and it was, good 20 years later. And my husband said, hey, we've always wanted to talk to you about this, but is your house haunted? And he said, oh my God, absolutely. We have jewelry and articles of clothing that go missing for months, and we come home and it's laid out on the bed. And many other things that they did not tell us when they asked us to babysit that house. So really, really unnerving night. A couple of things happened during that week to us personally, but it was really scary. And looking back now, we think, did that happen? Because it was so supernatural to be able to physically pick up a dog like that, knowing what it was doing or whatever it was, and knowing how it was going to affect us. I really think about it now, the psychological part of that, the intelligence of this particular haunt. It's a family favorite story that we've told our kids now that we have kids, and we share it with friends that are like, Mom, Dad, tell the story. And we both look at each other like, did this happen? And it did.
Okay, let's just pretend that this says, tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. If you haven't seen that Stitch with, I think their name is Audacitii. If you haven't seen that Stitch, you should go watch it. I tried to stitch it. I did a 10-minute video stitching it, and it deleted it. I'm convinced that Stitch is haunted. But anyway, it's this trend going around where everybody's sharing their ghost stories that sounds unbelievable, but is entirely true. And if you know me, you know I have a lot of ghost stories. But before I stitched a different one, but you know what? I'm feeling called to stitch. I'm feeling called to talk about this one now. I'm maybe I'll talk about that one again, but I can't go another 10 minutes. But anyway, so this one is going to be about me and my current fiance. His name is Alex, and basically we used to live in Philly. We used to have a 2-bedroom apartment together. This apartment was not the best, but it was on the boulevard, so it was conveniently located near everything. I can get to my job quickly. I worked in downtown Philly. He could get to the highway quickly because he worked out KOP, I think, King of Prussia. But anyway, so we lived in this 2-bedroom. The rent was great, and I'm starting to think that it was for a reason. The rent was only $700 a month. It did not go up every year. It literally stayed a solid $700. Unheard of. Okay, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, boulevard. Anyway, so the thing about this house, it was definitely haunted. I don't want to say we never physically seen anything, because we did. It's one of them things like, did I see what I think I saw type of situations. We would experience things like the cabinet slamming randomly in the middle of the night. Like as if somebody took one of our cabinets and really was angry and slammed it. There was certain cabinets that would not close. They would literally just stay open. So, you know, that's creepy if you come in the kitchen and the cabinet's open. We would smell random, weird, rotten like smells, and we would not know where this was coming from. It smelled like a dead body, y'all. I'm not even lying. And I did not know. We could not find the source of that smell. We didn't have mice. And it literally smelled like something was rotten. And it wasn't all the time. It was just at random times that it would just be this real bad smell that would last for like a day. And then it would just go away. Anyway, this one particular night, we were asleep. We always sleep with our door closed. We got this thing like, you know, if somebody gonna come in here and break in and try to get us, they gonna have to work for it. So we sleep with our doors closed, still to this day. So our bedroom door is closed. We're asleep. Our bedroom, we lay where if we were to open our eyes, we can see the door. Okay? It's not like the door is behind us. We're facing the door. Of course, he always lays closest to the door. You know, get him first, then me. But he lays closest to the door, and I lay closest to like the TV, the window, the fireplace. So this one night I wake up, and I'm awake, and I can't move. I cannot move. But I see, it looks like our door is open. The hallway light is on. Like it's real bright shining in there. And I can move my eyes to see him, and I see something on top of him, choking him. Like literally on top of him, choking him. This thing was all black, but it was like the shape of like a person, but like a real slender type person, as if they were wearing like all black latex from head to the toe, and they were literally just choking him. And I can't move, but you know, like me, I'm a prayer warrior. I just started saying stuff like, Jesus' name, you can't hand him. I started cursing, get off him, you B word. Like I'm a fighter at the end of the day. When it comes to fight or flight, I'm a fight. So I'm praying it away or whatever. And then all of a sudden, like, it's like I go back to sleep, and then like we wake up, and I remember I woke up and I was like, yo, I had this crazy dream where this was happening. He is like, I can't remember if I said it first or he said it first, but one of us said, basically, I feel like I was the one who was like, I had a crazy dream, this was happening, somebody was on top of you choking you. And then he was just like frozen because he felt like he was being choked in his dream. Okay. And it doesn't stop there with this house. No. I went on to have many dreams because I worked overnight. No, I didn't. Not at that time. I didn't work overnight, but I worked a weird schedule where I would be home a lot by myself, and I would have nightmares. Like I had a dream. Well, I don't even know if I was dreaming. Like I would literally feel like I would be awake, and then I wind up waking up, and then I wind up waking up again, and keep waking up and realizing that I don't know when I'm a freaking wake up. Like in real life, like it started being to the point where I didn't know if I was awake or not. And I would sleep a lot. But this one particular thing happened where this lady came into my room, and she was old and big. And I didn't see her face, but she sat on me. She sat on me, and I felt her weight. And I was just pinned underneath her. I felt someone sitting on me. And when I finally was able to break free, I woke up. But like, you don't feel things in your dream. I felt this, okay? Still to this day, we've been living in Florida for 4 years. I still have dreams about being stuck in that place. To the point where I'm thinking like, oh my God, like what if I'm stuck in that house? What if I never got out? That's how sometimes I feel.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
I've watched this trend continue to grow and become more popular over the past several weeks. Now, despite myself having literally dozens of stories that I could share, I never really considered making a post myself. That is until I came across a upload by a user, Tiff's Ghost Talk. Now, the thing about Tiff's story that caught my attention is the fact that I believe that we may have experienced the same sort of entity. So I'm going to share my experience. Tiff, I'm going to tag you down below, and you tell me what you think. Now, my tale begins in the late 1970s. Again, I grew up in a home that was owned by my grandparents. It was a 3-story colonial built in the mid-1920s. Grandparents lived there, I lived there, my mom lived there, my uncle. Eventually, my little sister came along, and all of us have tales that we could tell. This particular story happened when my uncle was away at college. My mom was off living her best life. I don't even know what the heck she was doing. So it was just my grandparents and myself. It was during the fall, so the sun went down early, rose late. This particular evening, I was, it's like one of those time for bed. So, put away the comic books, lay yourself down. You have school tomorrow, and, everybody's going to sleep. So they go to bed and I go to bed. Now, to give you an idea of my experience, I have to give you the layout of the house. Now, when you walk through the front door, Directly to your right would be the living room. The living room spanned from the front of the house to the back. Directly to your left would be the dining room. The dining room led into the kitchen through one of those old-timey swinging doors, and if you face straight ahead, you would hit the stairs about 6 paces in front of you. You can go up the stairs, about 11 stairs, hit a landing, sharp left, then you're on the second floor. If you continue to go forward, there was a hallway between the dining room and kitchen and the staircase that would lead straight from the front door to the back door. So if you just wanted to run straight through the house, you could. Halfway through, underneath the stairs leading to the second floor, was a little niche. And that nook had the coat closet, but also the door to get to the basement. So that's important. Now, during this night after I was told it was lights out, I'm laying there and I couldn't go to sleep. Didn't dare turn the lights on because my bedroom was directly across the hall from my grandparents. Their lights are out, my lights are out. My bed is against the wall in the corner where the foot of my bed faced the doorway out into the hall. The foot of their bed was against the far wall, and it also faced the doorway out to the hall. Not very feng shui, I know, but, that's the layout. I think it had to be roughly about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I hear the door to the basement open. Now, I know no one else is in the house. I know my grandparents aren't up because I didn't hear anybody get up or go downstairs. Now, in my child's mind, I'm like, all right, well, maybe somebody went down there to do laundry, something, and they didn't close the door properly. Door clicked open. Fine. But eventually, I begin to hear it open wider. And then I begin to hear footsteps coming down the hall from that nook leading to the front of the house and the foot of the stairs leading to the second floor. Now, the steps were very painfully slow. Yeah, you could think that, if it's a burglar, they're kind of tiptoeing and moving slowly. But, for whatever reason, I'm just hearing this and I'm like, what am I hearing? Didn't know what to do. I'm just laying there and I'm listening to the sound of creaking floorboards as this, whatever it is moving to the front of the house, foot of the stairs. Then I hear the first footstep on the stair. And then I hear the second. Again, this thing is moving so slow. It's got to be 5 minutes between each footstep. Now, my mind might be exaggerating because, when you're hearing things and you're young and time becomes kind of wibbly wobbly. But I swear that each footstep, each creak of the stair, there's got to be a 5-minute interval in between. And I hear this thing slowly come up the stairs. I hear it get to the landing and pause. And then I hear it go up the last few stairs and get to the top of the stairs at the end of the hall. Now, I'm just laying there and I'm petrified. I don't know what to do. I didn't hop up and say, hey, there's somebody in the house. I didn't scream. I'm just petrified. And then after what seemed to be another 10 minutes, the footsteps started coming down the hall towards my bedroom and my grandparents' bedroom. So at this point, I throw the covers over my head. I'm just hyperventilating. I'm breathing, and but I could still hear this thing coming down the hall to the end of the hall, front of the house, end of the hall, and I hear it stop between the two bedrooms. Then I hear it come into my bedroom. And this time it was moving more quickly, more purpose. Because I'm like, this thing knows whatever this is, whoever this is, it knows I'm awake. And it knows that I know it's there. And I am just hyperventilating. So I feel it, hear it, walk to the side of the bed. And I turn myself towards the wall. Because again, headboard is against the wall. Right-hand side of the bed is against the wall. Foot of the bed leading out to living room, leading out to the bedroom and towards the door. And I'm laying there and I don't hear anything. And I'm like, I gotta look. I don't know what told me I had to look, but it's like, I have to look. And I didn't just pull the covers down. I kind of lifted the covers up a couple of inches just to peek out. And when I did, swear before all that's holy, a couple of feet away is a face. staring right at me where I lifted up the covers. And this face, oily black, yellow eyes, wide smile, something that you would see out of any cliche horror movie, but I swear this is what this thing looked like. Skin oily but looked dry. And as I described it when Tiff was trying to, put words to what she saw, like a dried patent leather shoe. And this thing is just staring at me. And I'm just staring at it. And that's when the paralysis left my body. I pop up. I sit straight up in bed. I don't even know how I did the motion. I got up in bed. I vaulted over the footboard, out the door, straight into my grandparents' room, jumped in their bed. And I'm like, there's something in my room. There's something in my room. And I got the good old-fashioned, it's nothing in your room. Shut up. You have school tomorrow. We have work tomorrow. Lay your butt down and be quiet. I get in between my grandfather and my grandmother, and I'm laying there. Now, eventually, my grandfather gets up to go to work. He got up for work at like 4:30 in the morning. He gets up, goes about his business, goes downstairs. I hear him leave the house. Now, I'm still awake, and I'm still staring out in the hall. Everything's dark. He doesn't turn on any lights. What the hell was that about? And then eventually my grandmother gets up. And she gives me what the old, I don't care that you didn't sleep last night. You need to get your butt up and take your butt to school. I don't want to get any calls from the school that you didn't show up. Then I'm going to work. Bye. And she gets herself ready and she goes downstairs. And I'm hearing her tool around and I'm still looking out the door directly into my bedroom. And I swear as soon as she closed the door, I hear a roar. Shook my bones, swear it shook the house. And again, I pop up, I vault over the end of their bed, I run into the hall towards my room, make the immediate right turn, down the stairs, through the dining room, into the kitchen. I go into the kitchen, because I'm like, that's the only place I can go that I know has a lot of light, and I can see whatever's coming is coming. And I sit in the corner of the kitchen, I turn on the lights, I turn up the little black and white TV that sat on the counter as loud as I could, and I just sat there till sunrise. And I sat there and then nothing else happened. And then I got myself ready and went to school, because I didn't want to get a whooping for not going to school. And that's my story. But whatever this thing was, again, malice, like you wouldn't believe. I think that it moved slowly from the very beginning because it knew that I knew, and it moved the way it moved just to torture me. But that's just me. So, Tiff, let me know what you think. Anybody else who's had an experience, give me your feedback.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely
Okay, so I have a really scary story, and this is gonna sound fake. If you don't believe me, that's okay. I don't know if I would believe me because it doesn't sound realistic at all, but it happened. And this experience is actually very traumatizing, and it's a very, very long story. So get some chips, some snacks, whatever, because this is a very long story. This went on for like months, and it was very scary. And I'm gonna tell the whole entire thing. So stay put. So it all started back. I'm gonna start from when we met this person. Okay. So when I was a kid, when I was like, I think 9 through whatever age, right? We raised birds, baby birds, like their parents would breed, and then we would take their babies and we would feed them, raise them. They were very sweet birds, like they were cuddly, like birds that cuddle. Imagine birds that cuddle. They cuddled, they gave kisses, they were very loving birds, and then we sold them to good homes, right? And so we sold these birds, right? And this lady bought them, and my mom ended up befriending her, and she had a daughter that was like 1-2 years old, and I was 11 when I met her, or not 11 or 10, right? And so pretty age difference, but I used to play with her. I used to act like a big sister type thing, right, with her. So years went on. This lady's completely normal, completely sweetest lady ever. Takes very good, loves her birds, loves her animals, very kind, loving person. Loves her dogs. She has really cute dogs. This amazing woman, right? Amazing. So then one day when I'm like 18 years old, she comes over, and it's like, oh my god, I haven't seen her in so long. I don't know what to call her. I'm gonna call her Caitlin, because I'm not gonna tell you her name, right? So Caitlin comes over, right? And then I have a few friends over, and you know, my friend, I'm like in the living room, so I don't hear this conversation. But my friend, like my gay best friend, he's in the kitchen, in the dining room with her, Caitlin, my mom, just them two, right? And I'm in the freaking living room with this one dude that I was talking to at the time. So I'm just sitting in the room chilling, watching TV or whatever, when they're just in the dining room. So I could kind of hear their conversation, but I wasn't paying attention to what they were saying. Pretty much my friend, he comes up to me and this dude, and he's like, bro, like, this lady's insane, like, she's psycho. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, she's not insane, what do you mean? And then she leaves, and then him and my mom tell me that she starts talking about, like, showing him, like, pictures, and, like saying that she's a chosen one, and that she's Jesus, and that she heals people, and just all of this insane, crazy things that, like, what? Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, woman? And she's never been like this. She's never been insane. She's never been psycho. I've known this lady, keep in mind, since I was, like, 10 years old. So, like, what? That's 8 years of knowing her? At this time? Like, she never did anything, like, was never like this. Like, I was confused. My mom was confused. We were all confused, because we were like, she's not like this. This is not her, right? I forgot what I left off, but I don't want to restart it, so I'm going to kind of just talk about the Facebook thing. So, starts posting this shit on Facebook saying, I am, blah, 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 right? And it's like, it gets creepy. She starts saying that she's, like, Satan's daughter and shit, like, and saying she's Jesus, and then saying tonight is the night, like, throughout the night, she would say creepy, scary shit, right? Very creepy, eerie stuff, and it was very unsettling. So this one time, she posted a video, and this is, I swear, I wish I had this video for you, because it's scary. So, she posted a video, and this video, literally, it was, like, her, like, because she would get a lot of comments on her videos, like, you're not Jesus, you're crazy, like, just telling her, like, she's crazy, right? So, she posted, like, a video saying, stop calling me crazy, I'm not crazy, I am Jesus, and then she starts saying, and then, her voice changes. It went from her normal voice to, like, a creepy, like, this is not her voice, right? And you could tell, like, her voice completely shifted to a whole different voice. Who the fuck was that? I don't know, right? So it started talking about, like, she kept saying, I'm Jesus, like, in that creepy voice. And then saying, like, it gives me the chills, like, it makes me uncomfortable every time I think about this video. And I'm not gonna sleep tonight, so please watch the video, okay? Okay, so, okay, hold on, I lost track of what I was saying. So, okay, so her voice changed, and then she started saying, like, stuff like, I am Jesus, and then saying, after she would say that, she would say, like, shut the fuck up, and she would be she was, like, threatening people on there, too. It was very creepy. I remember my mom sent me that video, and we both, keep in mind, my mom does not get scared of anything. Like, this woman does not have any fears. Keep in mind as I go through this whole entire video. My mom does not get scared of shit. So then she invites my mom over one day. And so my mom was like, okay, I'll come over, right? But my mom doesn't want to go alone. So I go with her. My cousins and his girlfriend that lived with us at the time went with us. And my boyfriend at the time went with us. So the five of us all go, right? So we go, my mom drives us, so we get there, and we go inside. And so how our house is set up, so you walk in, right? There's a door, and then upstairs is where the living room and stuff is. And then you go here, like down, that's like the basement, but like there's like bedrooms down there and stuff, so like, I don't know, it's kind of like a weird house, right? But there's no like going in, like, it was a nice house, but just, there's no forward, there's up or down, right? So we go up into the living room, we're sitting, and then she takes my mom to the basement. I forgot why, she needed to show her something or whatever, right? So they go in the basement. My mom was down there for a while. I'm like, you know what, let's go see I wanted to go see what she was doing. I don't remember if she called me down there or if I just wanted to go down there to see if she was okay, or see what they were doing. Not if she was okay. I had no thought that something was wrong with her, right? So I go down there, and they're in the room, and they're just talking. It seems normal to me. I don't see nothing weird happening. She walks out the room. My mom pulls me aside, and she's like, there's something wrong. She's scaring the fuck out of me. I'm so glad you came down here because I'm scared. My mom has never said anything like that. My mom has never told me I'm scared before. I've never heard her being scared. My mom never gets fucking scared. She's a very strong, fearless woman, right? So then my mom tells me that she started, like, talking to air. Like, she was talking to my mom and then talking to air at the same time. Just, like, it was creeping her out that she was talking to nothing. Like, my mom didn't see nothing, and she was just talking to whatever the fuck was in that corner. And my mom was really creeped out, because obviously, who the fuck? That's scary as fuck, right? So then everybody comes downstairs, right? We're all downstairs. We go all sit in her room, right? Then she tells my boyfriend and my cousin, she's like, hey, I got a picture, you guys want to see it? And they're like, sure. So they go and look at it. My mom's already seen this picture. She said it's creepy as fuck. So they go to, like, the garage. I think that's where the picture, it was outside in the backyard, one of the two, right? And this is creepy as fuck, and I had to literally call my ex-boyfriend to tell me what the picture looked like again, because I wanted to make sure I get it right for the fucking video. So he told me. So they looked at the picture, right? He came back, and he looked scared, like, he looked uncomfortable. And so I was like, what's wrong? Like, are you good? And then he tells me that the picture that he saw, it was a decaying horse. So, like, it was a real horse that was decaying, right? And it had, like, demons coming out of it in the picture, right? And he said that the feeling he got from the picture, he said it was something wrong with it. He said it was, like, something spiritually, like, something coming after him, like, something that, not coming after him, but something that was scaring him. Like, he was scared. Like, that picture, he said he's never looked at something and been scared like that. He said it was very scary, and to this day, he does not like talking about it. Like, this man, he hated speaking about the picture. Like, that was very traumatizing. He said that picture fucked him up for a very, very long time. He said it was very fucked up. It was very scary. The feeling it gave him made him, like, it put him in fear. Like, he's never been scared like that before. You know what I mean? And I don't remember what my cousin said about the picture. I think he said the kind of similar, the same thing. But I don't think he got the feeling that my boyfriend did. Like, my boyfriend was more freaked out about the picture. And that man don't get scared of shit. Like, he's very fearless, too. He does not get scared, okay? He's very strong.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds
Okay, so he said the picture was very demonic. He said there was something wrong with it. It traumatized him, and to this day he doesn't like speaking about it, and he is very, very fucked up. Very, very fucked up. And to clarify, it wasn't like a real picture, but it was like a painting, but it looked like realistic, and also was like very fucked up painting. Like, it was very a decaying horse with demons coming out of it. Imagine that. And they said there was something spiritually attached to it. It was scary. And she also said that she couldn't, it used to be in her bedroom, but then she said that she couldn't keep it in her bedroom for, I forgot what reason, and she put it outside, right? So we're in her bedroom, and then she starts saying that she can speak, like, she speaks to ghosts, or, like, dead people, and that things speak through her, right? So she was saying that my grandma, my mom's mom, speaks through her and talks to her. And she was saying shit only me and my mom would know. Nobody else would fucking know except for me and my mom. Like, she would have no idea about this stuff except for me and my mom. My mom never told her this stuff. There's no way that she knew this stuff. Knew that stuff, right? That she was saying, that was coming out of her mouth. Me and my mom were mind blown, right? Same thing, she did the same thing with my cousin and my boyfriend at the time, right? Said stuff that my cousin, only him and his dad knew, and his dad passed away. So she was saying that his dad was speaking through her, and then same thing with my ex-boyfriend. She was saying that his grandpa was speaking through her and saying shit that only he knew, only they knew, like stuff that she would never know, like stuff that you can't just guess, stuff that they would never know. Like, that's crazy, right? I don't know if she did anything with my my cousin's girlfriend, but she wasn't buying any of this. She thought she was just nuts, right? And so at the time, we were confused. I actually like thought that something was speaking through her, but I wasn't thinking at that second that it was demons, right? Like, that's not something you think, right? But then later on, like, me and my mom came to the conclusion that something demonic was attached to her, especially after that picture. That picture was very demonic. There's something scary attached to it. Very bad. So then we went home, right, and like shit was normal after that. Like that was a weird experience. We talked about it, but shit was normal, right? So then one day, I'm home. So my dad went on vacation at this point. So my ex-boyfriend's not there. He's at home. My dad, he went on vacation overseas, so he was gone for like 2 weeks. And it was me, my cousin, my cousin's girlfriend lived with us. They were upstairs with me. I was sad about something. My mom just had knee surgery, so she's like on the couch sleeping peacefully. So we're upstairs in my room, and like I think I'm sad about something, and they're like talking to me about whatever I'm sad about. Then we hear my mom scream, and it was kind of weird. So my cousin, he goes downstairs to check on her. He comes back upstairs calmly, doesn't say anything about her screaming. I'm still talking about like how I'm feeling, and then so I end up going downstairs. I don't ask him what happened. I just kind of go downstairs to see what's happening. And my mom said, "Oh, I think I just had a nightmare," right? And I'm like, "Okay." So, you know, stuff slowly starts happening. Like, I'm starting to go crazy. Like, I put something somewhere. Like, I had a remote like this, kind of, but it was like LED lights around my room. And I know specifically, I put it like on the table by my bed. 100% it was on the edge of my, like, table, right? I put it there 100 for a fact, no doubt in my mind, it was there, right? And then I come back in the room. I literally walked away and came back, and it was gone. I couldn't find it. I was going crazy. I was tearing up my room. There was a basket in the hallway, and I was like tearing up the basket. Nothing was there anywhere in that basket or anywhere around that basket. Keep in mind, right? Tell me why a few days later I find that remote in the hallway, right but next to that basket, and I swear I looked there, I tore the whole thing up. It was not there. And so that was scary. That was very fucking scary. But I guess that could be explained, you know what I mean? I guess, yeah, I misplaced it. It can be explained, right? So our animals started to act weird. Like, we have cats. They started to act really weird, skittish. My cat started to get, like, scared. You know what I mean? More scared. Our birds started to act up. Like, they would start running around the cage, like, screaming, like, loudly. There was something happening. And then, like, our house got really eerie, very creepy. My dad wasn't there, so we would like walk around with knives. I don't know what a knife would do, but we would walk around with knives because of how scared we were. And keep in mind, I don't know what order all this stuff is in, but I know like all of this stuff happened. So it's like all in these 2 weeks that my dad's gone, right? Actually, it went more than the 2 weeks. It went on for months, but really bad when my dad was gone for those 2 weeks, right? So one night, so my mom and still remember that time where she had that nightmare, right? That nightmare. I'm going to tell you what it is later. It's important for later in the story. So me, my cousins, and his girlfriend, we all go out to the club, right? We go out. At the time, I'm 19, my cousin's 20, and then my other cousin's 21. It's an 18 and up club, right? So we go to the club, and we're, like, going out, we're having fun, dancing, and I get a little too wasted to drive, so then I had to, like, sober up, so I had these girls drive us. No, actually, just me and my cousin's girlfriend, and we had to go pick up my cousin from work. So these random girls from the club, they took us all the way, like, 30 minutes to get my cousin from work, and then went back to my house and stuff. So they were, like, very sweet girls, right? So we were out later than... The club only closed at, like, 2:30. We didn't get home till 3-something, right? But my mom was kind of mad. Like, she was, like, yelling at me over the phone. Like, she was like, why did you leave? Why are you guys out so late? And my mom's never like that. She never gives a fuck if I'm out late. So it was very out of character for her. Like, I'm sorry, Mom, we're on the way now. So then we end up going home. we get home, and then she starts yelling at me, like, why did you leave? Like, why are you out so late? Like, mad, and I'm confused. Like, why is she mad? Like, she's never like this. So we kind of have a little bit of an argument. And then after the argument, she calls me downstairs, and she's like, I'm sorry, I apologize. I just got really scared. Like I said, my mom does not get scared. She stays home by herself, never gets scared. She's not a scared person. So she said that she heard knocks on the door, like banging on the door, right? And she said that nothing was there. And she said that she was so scared, like she tried to get up, but then like the noise stopped and stuff like that. Ended up stopping, but she said that there was knocks at the door and there was nobody there, and she was so scared, and she just wanted us to get home because how scared she was, and that's why she got mad at us for being out so late, is because she got scared. And my mom does not get scared, like I said, right? So then she starts talking about like her dream, right? We start talking about her dream, and she said she starts to feel weird about her dream. She's like, I was like, well, can you tell me about your dream? And she was like, so the lady, Caitlin, we're gonna call her Caitlin, the friend, she said that she was outside her window, right? Outside like the living room window. We were upstairs, keep in mind, right? And she was knocking on the window, right? And she was saying, I'm gonna kill you, right? To my mom. And my mom got really scared. She screamed and jumped, but my mom said she doesn't remember waking up. She doesn't remember waking up from the dream. So we were thinking that maybe it wasn't a dream and maybe it was real. She might have told me this like that same night. I don't remember. Keep on. This was like in 2022, so it's a minute ago. So she told us about that, and I got really scared. She's like, yeah, it was really scary. Didn't feel like a dream. It felt really real. She was really there. And so we realized that same night she posted something really creepy, like, tonight is the night it starts, right? Something like that on her Facebook. And then we were like, that's really weird. She was like, that's right after it happened. Like, the time right after it happened, like her dream. So the next day, I go outside, like, it's daytime, right? And we had, like, a sign. I don't remember what the sign was, like, right by the window. And it was, like, a metal sign. And it was, like, bent, like, this. Like, it went from this to this. And it wasn't like that before, and I didn't notice it until I looked. I was like, that's when I realized, like, that had to have been real, like, not a dream. And that really creeped me out. Like, that, there's still more.
Story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
So my ghost story is a little different because my guy ghost was not a ghost yet. He was alive. So what happened was, this was a time back when COVID first started. So this was a few years ago actually, when COVID first started. And you remember how hard it was to find tissue, paper towels, and all that? Well, I was on the phone with my sister. She was taking her coworker, Miss Janice, around to different stores trying to find tissue, paper towels, and stuff. So Miss Janice was getting in and out of the car because she was going to different stores. Well, me and my sister were just talking, and all of a sudden, I heard the name Paul, or I thought of the name Paul, and I was like, I don't know anybody named Paul. You know, not first name anyway. No coworkers, no clients, no nobody. And so I was like, And I kept having this conversation with my sister. Miss Janice keeps getting in and out of the car. And then, and I keep hearing Paul. And when I hear Paul, I hear it here. Not here, but I hear it at my throat, like Paul. So she gets in our car a couple of more times, and I hear the name. And when Miss Janice gets in the car and she stays in the car, instead of me hearing Paul, every once in a while, I hear Paul faster. Like, it got faster as she got in the vehicle and stayed there. It went from Paul to Paul, just faster and faster. And I was like, Erica, you have got to ask Miss Janice, do she know a guy named Paul? He's an older guy, living or dead. Just ask her, Noah Paul. And Eric was like, girl, don't start that. Like, don't start that, because my sister, I just told my family my gift like 6 or 7 years ago. I've been gifted like this all of my life. I've always felt spirit. I've always known when a house had a spirit in it, a ghost, whatever you want to call it. I can always tell tension in a room, a lot of different things. I've had this gift from birth. Let's just say that. Anyway, so she's like, I don't start that. I don't want to, I don't want to ask her this. She really didn't want to ask her, but she went ahead and asked her. And Miss Jan was like, no, I don't know Paul. And I was like, yes, she do. Yes, she do. If she know a Paul, like Erica, tell her, think she knows a Paul. Tell her an older guy. His name is Paul. And I went on to tell Erica that, he's an older guy. He's very ill. He's probably going to die soon. I'm like, don't tell Miss Janice that part, because I don't know how she knows him. I don't want her to relay that type of message to anyone, but tell her that he wants to see his daughter before he passes. It's very important that his daughter comes to check on him. And I was like, Erica, it's something about his throat. I don't know if this man can't breathe. I don't know what it is, but somebody please. And I'm panicking at this point. Like, I feel real panicky at this point. And so she was like, Miss Janice, are you sure you don't know Paul? And then Miss Janice was like, well, what is his last name? And I can hear the questions. I don't know if I'm on speakerphone at this point or what, but I can hear Miss Janice ask the questions. And so Eric was like, well, what's his name? I was like, girl, I don't know. And then she was like, well, Miss Janice, what's his name? Me and Miss Janice at the same time I said Warren, and Miss Janice said Wren. Paul Wren. Warren Wren. Close enough for me. And so Miss Janice was like, yeah, I know Paul. She was like, but I haven't heard that name in over a year or more. She was like, but so I don't know if he's sick or not, but I can call and check. And so then Erica told her, well, my sister said that somebody needs to go and check on Paul. Is it something about his throat or something? He wants his daughter to come and see him. And Miss Janice was like, who told you this? And so she was like, my sister. And then she was like, oh. She said, oh, your sister, she can sense things or hear things. She was like, yeah. She was like, well, I believe in prophecy, so I'm gonna call my niece. That's my niece's father. So she calls her niece, and of course her niece don't answer. Well, the next day, my sister calls me, and she was like, so Miss Janice got in touch with her niece, and her niece wanted to know, who is this lady? What church do you go to? This is amazing. And she went on to say, yes, her dad's name is Paul Wren, and he is old and he's very sick. And she used to go and see her dad every day and check on him all the time. But when her mom got sick, she stopped going to see her dad, and she started to send someone to see him and, check on him for her. And she would go see him periodically because now she's caring for her mom. She said, but I had been thinking about my dad, and I said I was going to go and see him tomorrow myself instead of sending somebody. She was like, but because of this, I'm going to go myself. Tell your sister, thank you. Thank you so much. She's truly blessed. She really has a gift, is what she said. Well, so she also told my sister to tell me that the throat thing, her dad has throat cancer. I was like, wow. Like, every time this happens for me, like, I shouldn't be all excited and shocked because it's happened a lot of times, but I'm still in awe, and I'm still like, wow. Because God is amazing. Like, he will give you gifts that you really have to pray about how to use them and what they are about, and should I use them. I kind of stopped going to church because I didn't know what the church would think about my gift. So I just kind of was like, I know it comes from God because I know what people say. And so I just I'm very thankful for my gift. I wouldn't wish it away. I wouldn't pray it away. I'm very blessed to have it. I have 1,000 stories. Not 1,000, but I have a lot of them. But anyway, about Mr. Paul, I'm going to say a week and a half later after that happened or whatever, I was on my way to work, and I thought about Paul Wren. And in that moment, I knew he had passed. I knew he had passed over. I was like, gained his wings. And I just went on to work. Didn't think nothing about it, whatever. Didn't call and check because I do. I think maybe another week later, my sister called because she is absent-minded. She did not remember to tell me, but she was like, girl, I forgot to tell you, Miss Janet said that Mr. Paul, he passed. I was like, yeah, about like 2 weeks ago or something. She was like, yeah, how you know? I was like, you really gonna ask me how I know? And she was like, oh my God, I'm just so outdone. I'm just done with you. And I was like, yeah, I was on my way to work and I thought of him and I knew, you know. But yeah, it's pretty amazing. But I think maybe a few years later I met another one of their family members, and Miss Janice and me, my sister, Miss Janice and Miss Janice's sister were out at dinner, and Miss Janice said, oh, this is her. This is the one that told our niece about her dad. And she was like, you? So yeah, I have a gift that I do not tell people about. But I guess I just told everybody all of a sudden. Yeah, some people know about it, some people don't. But I chose to tell that particular story because I do have witnesses. I have a lot of witnesses to things that I've told people and it happened or it was going to happen. I don't tell like anything that will hurt somebody. I don't think I will get that type of information anyway. Because if you know, you know. Like, you know what to say and what not to say. But anyway, so that's kind of not a ghost story, not a spirit story. I have plenty more of those. If you guys want to hear it, leave it in the comments and I'll tell a few more. But yeah, every now and then I think about Mr. Paul Ryan. Not Ryan, because that's what I said, but Mr. Paul Ryan. I hope he's resting in peace.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. I'll go first.
What's up, TikTok? It's been a while. Haven't really posted here on like almost 2 years. Just haven't really been feeling it. Just been kind of following people and just doing stuff. But yeah, I might as well give this a shot because everyone's telling their ghost stories, and I decided to tell some that I know. So I'm gonna tell 2 stories. One is about my teacher, and one is about me. So the first one's going to be about my teacher. So this one I heard when I was in high school when he was teaching our class, and he told the story every year to every class he had when we came in. So this story takes place in a European town, small European town. Forgot what town it was, but he said he was, it was a local town where he grew up with before he moved out of it. And he was around 8 or 9 when the story happened. And he was an altar boy for the local church. And they had this local priest there, and he got a message that a gentleman was not feeling well, that he needed to come get a blessing or need some cleansing or something, that he just wasn't feeling well. So he gets asked to come help with the priest, and it's his first time ever like doing this assignment with the priest. So the priest's like, I need your help. I need you to carry like the Bible and some holy water, all the stuff. And he's like, all right. So he goes to the house. It's about a couple blocks away from the church. So when they get there, they enter the house, and my teacher, he felt something like off. He felt something like was evil in the house, and he just didn't feel right being here. But he had to help the priest and he had to do his job basically. So they get there, they find the gentleman, and the gentleman does not look great. He's pale, he's skinny, he looks weak, has scabs, he didn't look right. And he was there with his wife and his brother. So they get there, and the priest tells, my teacher, hey, give me the Bible and start reading some scriptures. And he's like, okay. So they started reading scriptures, name, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and he starts reading them in Latin, because that's what it was written in. And when he started reading it, the guy that was there started kind of like getting irritated and started like kind of grunging and like not liking what he was saying. So my teacher's like, well, what's going on? Why is he getting mad? Like, I don't know what's going on. So he starts saying it, and then the priest brings out a cross and starts saying, Our Father, or starts saying, prayers to the guy while he's holding the cross. And the guy starts getting all irritated, and he falls off the couch, and he starts getting all pissed, starts screaming bloody murder. And my teacher's like, what's going on here? So the priest asked, give me the holy water. And he gave him the holy water he was holding, and he started spraying on the guy. And he said when it hit the guy let out this very deep, very just gut-wrenching scream. And after the scream, he started speaking Latin backwards. and in a very deep voice. And he started, blah, blah, like saying it. And my teacher's frozen in fear, like, what's going on? And he doesn't know what's happening. So he kind of gets super afraid. So he kind of starts looking away, but everything's starting to happen. And then the priest starts yelling out, hold him down, hold him down. And the wife and the brother of the man are trying to hold this guy down, and they're putting everything they can to hold him down to make sure he doesn't, like, move around. And when my teacher looks back, he sees that they're putting a lot of force to try to put him down. But then when he looks below, he sees that the guy was levitated off the floor by like 2 feet. Looked, no, nothing in there. He was straight up levitating like this, just straight up off the floor. And when he saw that, he ran out the house and ran towards the church. He just said, screw this. And he ran. And he always tells us the story every time. Like I said, every year he tells a story to all the classes. And when he told us the story, we saw the actual fear from his eyes, because he was one of those guys that you just don't want to mess with, but he was very kind with you. He loved to be with you, but he was like serious. He wanted you to succeed. And that was the first time I've ever seen him be fearful. And he was like tearing up. He was like shaking. Like he hated telling the story, but he always told it every year because people would always ask about it. So that's one story that I was told, and I tell it to a lot of people. And for those people who do not know, that was pretty much something called an exorcism. Now, what an exorcism is when priests go and try to get or cleanse a person that has some sort of entity or some sort of demon in it. And that's pretty much what it was from what he told us. So he pretty much experienced a legit exorcism in front of his eyes, and he didn't he said that, like, the stuff you see, like, on, the movies and stuff, it's not close to it, but it's very similar. But if you see it, like, in person, you'll fear for your life, because you think it's something from a movie. Now, there's that story from him, and I'm going to tell you my story. Now, my story takes place in New Orleans, Louisiana. Now, I got to give you guys a fair warning. That place is extremely haunted. The whole city is. Wherever you go, it's going to be some sort of haunting. Now, I'm trying to make this story quick because I took a lot of time with the first one. But basically, me, my family, and my cousin's family all went there for her 21st birthday. We wanted to celebrate it, and that's where she wanted to go. So we went there, and we stayed off a hotel near Bourbon Street, and pretty much, I got to tell you guys, like, it's very creepy at night over there. Like, on Bourbon Street, fun. People, are doing crazy stuff, drinking. But if you take a left or a right down a side street, it is pitch black silence. It is straight creepy. So I would recommend not doing that. Now, in this hotel, it was a simple room. You enter the room to the right. There's a little hallway that had the sink and the bathroom. Then past the wall and the door frame, there were 2 beds to the right, a window in the back that was a huge window, and then a TV and some lounge chairs. So, first night happened. We all get drunk, and we all decide, hey, we're going to go back to the hotel and freshen up. And when we said that, one of my cousins, actually earlier, he went back to the room to go to sleep because he was just tired and just, didn't really feel like doing the stuff. That's just how he is. And he was in my room. We were sharing the room. So I go, and I expect him to be sleeping, just kind of, just not really there, just being asleep. So I enter the room, and I'm pretty much, like, about to be really drunk, but I'm, like, a little bit drunk, let's just say that. And I enter the room, and I look up, and I see a full-fledged, full figure standing in front of the window to where it was blocking the light of the moon, because the moon was bright that night, but it was straight up blocking the light. And it was just standing there staring at me, and I go, oh, hey, Victor, and it's my cousin's name, and I hear a response back. So I figured, oh, it's him, he's probably awake for something. I go, freshen up, and I walk out the room. Now, I go back to the room the second night, and I'm by myself. And it's around earlier this time, like around 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and they're all out. I just had to go back to the room, I think, to get something. And I'm looking through my bags, and I'm near my bed, and then all of a sudden I hear the sink go on. Sink goes on, and I kind of freeze, and I go, all right, I know you're here. And I go, if you want me to leave this room, just turn off the sink right now. Immediately a second after, sink turns off. And I go, all right, I'm going to leave, I'm going to get my stuff, and I'm going to go. So I left the room, and I honestly was a bit afraid, but I kind of didn't really want to think about it, didn't want to have it ruin my weekend, so I just went on with my day. Now, here comes the third night. Now, this night was pretty much the one that kind of was the icing on the cake. So this was the night before we all left. I'm in my bed, I'm sleeping, and I pretty much, I'm just sleeping, and then I wake up all of a sudden at like 3, 4 a.m. in the morning. I look to my right, and my cousin's dead asleep. So I kind of like, I'm like, all right, there's something in this room that's not him. So I kind of slowly like look up from my bed, and I can see this tall figure kind of staring out of the side of the wall where it goes to the hallway, kind of staring at it like me, just like this, looking at me. It's kind of staring, and I'm getting chills talking about this. And he's just staring at me, and I go, listen. I kind of whisper like, listen, I don't know what you want from me. Please leave me alone. I'm gonna go home tomorrow. I'm not gonna bother you, and I hope whatever is troubling you, hope you fix it. And I see you just go, like slowly go away from the wall. And I was wide awake for pretty much the rest of the morning. I think I got up and I kind of like turned the lights on. I was looking around and there was nothing. So I just had to go on Bourbon Street and just try to find something to do. And then I got back to the hotel and they're like, "Were you out?" And I go, "Yeah, I woke up early this morning, da 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 da." But in reality, I was afraid for my life. So that's pretty much what happened with me, and I think I had some sort of, what they say, an intelligent haunt, because it was responding to me very well. And for some reason, it was going after me. I don't know what that figure was. It didn't really bother my cousin, because he didn't really experience anything, but it bothered me. And whatever it is, I hope it found peace. That's all I could say.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable, but is entirely...
When I was 5 or 6, I was haunted, I'd like to say like visited, by my great-grandmas on both my parents' side and my great-great-grandparents on my dad's side. We lived in a house that had a lot of my great-grandma's stuff from my dad's side in it. Her china had her old knickknacks. And so it was just a common thing that we always talked about, that she was haunting us. You would hear footsteps up and down the hallway at night. Her rocking chair would just rock by itself. One time the Niners were playing, which we are huge Niner fans, and they were losing, and the hat kept falling from the wall, and we kept hanging the hat back up on the wall. And then one time the hat fell from the wall, and it fell and then over on a table and landed, which would not naturally happen if a hat fell from a wall. And so we would always just say, like, it's Grandma Ruby. And there was other things that would happen that we would say was my Pocky, which is my great-great-grandpa, because he was known to be a trickster. And so we had like a Barney toy that had gotten thrown up in the attic, and one time we were sitting there and it just started going off talking. Well, my dad had enough of it. He went upstairs into the attic and he tore the battery pack completely out of this toy. And he comes back and he sits down, and about 10 minutes later, the Barney toy goes off again. And my dad just had enough. And we would always just say, like, okay, that's enough, Pocky. Or, okay, we see you, Grandma Ruby. Or, we hear you, Grandma Ruby. Well, when I was probably like 6, I was sharing a room with my sister. And as she tells it, because I don't have huge memories of it, I mostly have retelling of the story. I would just be awake at night, sitting at the end of the bed, looking up, talking, and I would be having full conversations, and it would really creep her out. So she told my parents, like, I don't like it. I don't want to sleep in the same room as her. She scares me. She's just talking to somebody all night long. And so they had asked me, like, who are you talking to? And I just nonchalantly was like, my Grandma Ruby, my Pocky, my Mom Grace, like, duh. And they kind of thought it as, we talk about it a lot in front of her. She's young. Her imagination's going wild. She just hears us talking about them being around. So that's why she's saying that. Well, then one day I was talking to my dad about it, and I had described my Pocky and Ma Grace's golden retriever down to a T. I had never heard about this dog from anybody else. I'd never seen pictures of this dog. And I knew his name, and it just really, like, shocked my dad. It really made my dad think, like, holy cow, she is really talking to them. I mean, I had details about them that were just never spoke about, and so it really made them believe, like, wow, she is actually being visited by my dad's side of the family. And it was always said that my great-grandma, Grandma Ruby, was very sick when my mom was pregnant with me, and she had told them, you better bring that little girl to see me. And she had passed away before I was born. So they were always like, she was getting her chance to see her. She was upset she didn't get to see her. She was coming to see her. Well, it went on for quite a while. And then one time we were at my Nana's house, which is my mom's mom. And we were going through photo albums, which you do at Nana's house because she has a photo album for everybody. And we were flipping through and there was an old school photo. And I stopped and I was like, that's her. That is my other Grandma Ruby that comes and talks to me. And my Nana was so shocked because never once did she think that it was her mom also, because they were both Grandma Rubies. They just believed that it was my dad's side of the family because we had always said that she was haunting the house because of all of her things and all of the things that happened. And so it really, really shocked my grandma that it was not only my Grandma Ruby from my dad's side, my Pocky, my Ma Grace, but it was also her mom who was a Grandma Ruby. And that went on, that went on for quite a while. I think, as I got older, I didn't have quite as open as an imagination as they say, and I no longer really talked to them. The things like the hearing the walking and the chair rocking, it continued to happen in that house, but when we moved, even though we took all of her stuff, it just didn't really happen anymore. But it's always just been a family story about the time that I talked to my great-great-grandparents and my great-grandmas that passed away long before I was born, and I just nonchalantly would tell stories to my family about when they would come visit me at night. So yeah, that's the ghost story about how I just talked to ghosts when I was younger.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
Alright, here's a quick little story for you. So, this took place in the first house we lived in, and at this time I believe it was my older sister, me, my two younger sisters, my mom, and my dad. So, I remember at this point in time, I'm just like, I was in the bedroom, my sisters were like, closing me in the room, like, they didn't want to let me out. I don't remember why, but the point is, we had a closet door in that bedroom, and whenever you would open it, it would always creak open, it was a creaky closet door. So I remember trying to open the door, I'm pushing against the door, my sisters are pushing back against it, so I can't get out. We were younger, it was 2 against 1, I didn't have enough strength, to push back against both of them. So I just remember trying to open the door, and then out of nowhere I just hear the closet door, I just hear it opening. Like I said, it creaks whenever you open it. And I look at the closet door, and all of a sudden I just see this black non-human hand come out the door, and it's grabbing the door and pushing it open. Had long black fingers, and I was just like, oh no, and it's pushing it open, and I'm seeing the arm, it's just all black, long, skinny, very thin. And I just remember grabbing so much adrenaline, I just was filled with adrenaline. I was able to push the door down against my two sisters. I ran to my mom, and I told her, I'm like, there's something in the closet, She comes, nothing's there. Nothing is there. That was just one of the first instances that I would see. And whatever this thing was, it always made itself known to me. I'm like, I posted another story on just where this thing I saw basically in the shower using my sister's voice. Could have been a skinwalker, could have been a mimic. I honestly don't know. I was too young, I didn't know anything about that. But here's another story about the time where we no longer lived in that house, but we lived in an apartment at this time. At this time, I believe I had 4 sisters at the time, me and my brother, so it was 6 of us. So the apartment was always filled. It was a 1-bedroom apartment, and I remember it was summertime. And in the summer, we would sometimes go to my grandma's house, which was in Madera, California. Maybe, I want to say a 6-hour drive, from Los Angeles County. And I just remember being in the apartment, and I didn't want to go to my grandma's house. Most of my siblings went. I think the only ones who stayed home was me, my older sister, and my mom. Everybody else went with my grandma. So this particular day, I was still sleeping in the living room. I'm just because I would always sleep in the living room. And I was on my Nintendo DS. I was playing Pokemon. I was also watching Pokemon on demand. And I just remember looking into the hallway, the little passageway that goes into the kitchen. And I just kept seeing this figure pass by. a figure in like a white dress. And, you know, I didn't pay too much attention to it. I was like, oh, whatever, it's nothing. Like, you know, I've seen so much stuff. I'm just like, that doesn't scare me. I was like, whatever. You can do whatever you want. I'm focused, like, I'm in the zone. Like, you know, I'm playing my Pokemon. I think I was trying to catch, like, I don't know what Pokemon I was trying to catch, but I was trying to catch it. And, you know, when you're playing Pokemon, it, like, goes 3 times and you got it. And, like, it'll go 1, 2, and then you think you got it, but they don't. So it was a rare Pokemon. I couldn't catch it. So I was really into my DS, and then when I finally caught it, I was like, oh, like, you know, I turned over to look at the TV, and like I said, I was sleeping in the room, and in the living room, we had a small little chair. This small little chair was always in the corner of the living room. It was my sister's little chair. She used it, like, when she would eat or whatever. It was a little pink chair. So when I looked over to the TV, that chair that was always in the corner was suddenly right in front of me, like, planted right in front of me. I don't know at what point of time. Nobody moved the chair. Nobody was there. My mom and my sister are asleep in the room. That figure that I was seeing in the hallway, I'm just like, I didn't see anymore. But that chair was right in front of me. I just got so scared. I got up and I was like, I ran. I'm just like, I did not look at anything. Like, it's a small apartment. I'm just like, you can't even say anything, but I'm just like, I just didn't focus on anything. I ran straight to the room and I go straight to the bunk bed, and my mom's like, what happened? I'm just like, nothing. But I've seen so much things. I'm just like, that one didn't scare me too much. I probably have time for another story. So I guess I'll go with this one that scared me, like, so much. And this was around the time I was with my cousin, and we were also gonna go to my other cousin's house. So my cousin lived in Victorville. You know, it's kind of rural. I'm like, it's not too much to do right there. It's kind of boring. But like I said, anywhere I went, if there was something there, I felt it, and I just knew. So I remember getting to their house, and as soon as I walked into their house, I was like, I don't want to be here. I don't feel safe here. There's something here. I was little. I was maybe like 13. I mean, we were on break or something because there was no school around that time. And I just remember I was like, no, like, I can't be here. I couldn't be alone in the house at all. At all. If I was alone, I would start seeing things. I would start hearing things. I would always see this shadowy figure in that house. I did not want to be alone in the house at all. I kid you not. I literally, like, I didn't go to the restroom. In other words, like, yes, I pooped my pants, like, multiple times when I was there. I was just like, because my cousins were always outside and their parents were always working. So if I had to go to the restroom, I had to go alone. And I was not entering that house alone. Nope. I didn't care what you gave me, what you told me to get. I was not going there alone. You could come with me. So I remember this particular time, my cousins were in their parents' room. And I was like, okay, they're in their parents' room. And their parents' room had a restroom. So I was like, okay, cool. While they're in here, I'm going to take advantage. I'm going to go to the restroom. I have not been able to use the restroom, like, since I got here. I'm like, I literally had so many accidents. I'm like, it was disgusting. I probably threw away, like, 3 pairs of underwear. So I remember being in the restroom and closing the restroom. I closed the restroom door. I'm using the restroom. And I can still hear them outside. I'm like, okay, cool. They're still there. And then all of a sudden, it gets quiet. It gets quiet, and I call them. I'm like, Rigo, Ryan. I don't hear them more. At that moment, I knew they left me. They left me. And the moment I realized is the moment when the light turned off. The light switch turned off, but I was right next to it. I'm flickering the switch. I'm like, and it will not turn on. It will not turn on. And I'm in the, like, you know, I'm in the middle of going number 2, so I can just, like, get up and leave. But then I felt something touch me. Something touched my shoulder. It grabbed my shoulder. I looked and I can't see anything. It's too dark in that restroom. I was like, no. I'm like, I did not care if I did not finish using the restroom. I pulled up my pants and I'm trying to open the door. I'm like, the door will not open. The door will lock. The light will not turn on. I finally managed to get the door open. And when I get the door open, I'm going to go, like, to the living room. I'm just going to get out the house. I'm just like, I didn't know where they were at. I'm like, they're probably in the room. They're probably outside. I'm like, I don't know. I was going to go outside. And to get to their parents' room, I'm like, there's a hallway. And in that hallway, it's a long hallway. So it's a hallway that goes that way and it goes straight. I remember looking straight down. I see the black shadow figure and it's coming. I'm just like, it wasn't even like a figure. It was like more of an energy, a black energy. and it's getting closer. I was like, no. And I just ran. As soon as I got into the hallway, I turned left into the room because that thing was straight down. I turned left. I remember getting into the room and my cousins are right there. They're talking, I'm crying. They're like, what happened? What happened? I'm like, all I can say, I'm like, you guys left me. You guys left me. That's all I could say. I couldn't like make out what happened to me. All I could say, you guys left me. You guys left me. That's all I could say. And when, what's fucked up? I'm like, later on that night, I'm just like, they thought like, they saw how terrified I was. But they decided to play a prank on me, and they got like this mask, like a Halloween mask that my cousin had. And I was laying down on the couch, and like, I was like resting for a bit. I'm like, cause they were still there. These two idiots decided to put the mask right next to me. And they wake me up, I see the mask, I get scared, I start crying. I'm just like, you guys are messed up. I'm just like, you guys don't know what happened. I'm just like, I couldn't tell them. Like, I told them maybe like years later, but it was one of the scariest things that probably happened to me. I was terrified. Absolutely.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
Forgive me because I've been trying to stitch this video for a few hours, but I cannot figure out how to get my audio to continue working. Whenever I stitch a video, it just mutes me the entire time, and it's been a struggle and a half. So I'm trying a different approach to stitch this video, and hopefully it'll work. Anyways, so this isn't really a story told from my point of view as much as it is my uncle's, because I was only 3 at the time. But I should start by saying my dad passed away when my mom was pregnant with me, and it's kind of a whole controversy on what happened there, because my dad's side, like my grandparents, they think that my dad shot himself while cleaning a gun, but then my mom's side, because my mom talked to the police and they said that the angle in which the bullet went in was impossible for a human to self-inflict. I mean, it was in the back of the head. I don't know how he could be cleaning a gun and accidentally shoot himself in the back of the head. That just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But either way, my dad was dead before I was born. And so between my brother and I, because my mom had 2 kids by my dad, it was my brother Tyson and then me, and Tyson's a year older than I am. He wasn't really the one who would communicate much with my dad, but as a kid I did often, and a lot of my family members saw that. And this is one instance where probably the first instance that really stuck out in my family, or to my family, was I was 3 years old. It was Halloween night, so my mom took Tyson trick-or-treating. I think I, like I said, was 3, and then my uncle was 18 or 19. And my Uncle Tim, my mom's brother, he had me, and we were watching, or he was watching some sort of show, and the TV's facing this way in front of him, and we're on a recliner, and I'm passed out facing with my head over his shoulder, facing like behind him. And he said he noticed that the room, he's watching whatever he's watching, he noticed the room dropped in temp. And he said that out of a dead sleep, I woke up and I started screaming and crying, saying, "Dad, Dad, Dad." And like, at the time, I had never called anybody dad because my dad was dead the entirety of my 3 years living at that point, and I hadn't called anyone that yet. And he said that it scared him so much that he kind of pulled me forward, and he was like, "What's going on? What's wrong?" And he sees that I'm staring back at this china closet or china cabinet that has like all of my dad's stuff in it. And he said that he was so scared because he had never seen me like this, and he said the only thing he could think of saying was, "Chris, go away, you're scaring your daughter." And he said within like 15 seconds I was passed back out, like completely passed out. And that's not the only instance. Like, one that I briefly remember, but not very much because I was only 5 or 6, was, I think it was my Uncle Tim that came down, but I used to have this like princess desk that was like, I don't know if you know those ones that are like, there's like Sleeping Beauty ones or like Cinderella ones, and they have like the chairs that go with them and their little tables. And it has like all the princesses on them. Well, I used to always have 2 chairs pulled out, one that I was sitting in and one that my dad was sitting in. And my Uncle Tim one time came down and he sat directly down on top of my dad, and this is the part that I remember, because I remember getting like distraught and emotional because I was so confused why he would just sit on him like that. And I kept saying, "You're sitting on him, you're sitting on him." And he's like, "Sitting on who?" And I was like, "You're sitting on Dad." And he's like, stood up immediately and he's like, "Sorry, I didn't know." And I was just so confused because I didn't understand why he couldn't see him or why he would sit on somebody. Like, in my head, I was like, why would you do that? You saw him sitting there, but really, I was the only one who saw him. And he said that, my Uncle Tim said that I would talk to him and tell him things and talk the way my dad used to talk. Whenever I was talking to him, like I would come up with these things that only my dad and my Uncle Tim would have known about. And because they were pretty close when he was alive, because he was dating my Uncle Tim's sister, my mom, so they were really close. And he said that he didn't, like, at first, like, he believed it, but he didn't believe it. And so he's like, well, if you're talking to your dad, tell him to show you the handshake that we used to do. And they used to have some sort of handshake that they would do. And I put my hand up and did the exact same handshake. And there's no way in hell that I would have known how to do that unless my dad was actually sitting there and showed me how to do it. And I did it with my uncle. And so it is a little creepy, but at the same time, it's pretty cool. So I wouldn't call it a scary ghost story. And I haven't had, like, any interactions as an adult with him. And honestly, I don't think I would want to, because I have a daughter who's 1, and I don't really... That would scare me. I'm not mentally strong enough to see a full-ass apparition or see anything, because stuff scares me. I don't know. I get spooked easily, but I also like spooky stuff. But, like, I like watching it on television. I don't want to see it in my life, you know? And so that would scare me, because I don't want her to start talking to anything. I think I would run out of the house. I wouldn't pack anything. I would just run. But anyways, it's not really a scary story, because when I was little, like, they say that when you're younger, you're more susceptible to seeing things because you don't know it's not real, so therefore it doesn't scare you. Like, when you see an apparition, you think it's a genuine person standing there. You don't think that it's a ghost, or you don't really know what death is and what all that is at the time, so it doesn't scare you. Whereas as an adult, you understand that that person's gone, and therefore they're not here anymore, so you're seeing a ghost, not an actual person. Anyways, it's kind of cool.
Ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable, but is entirely true.
Okay, so growing up, I lived in a haunted house. I moved in this house when I was 6 years old, and I was pretty sheltered. Never watched scary movies. I wasn't allowed to from my parents. So I really didn't understand what was happening to me at the time, so I was really quiet about it and didn't tell anybody. Not until I was a little bit older, but I would always see the same woman come into my room, come into the bathroom at random times, and she would scare me. But I feel like it wasn't intentional. I was just scared because I could see a see-through woman staring at me. But I felt like she was sad. And I wouldn't want to sleep. I'd turn the lights on to my room. I had a thing with my closets. I'd always have to have the closet door closed. I was terrified of this woman. The final straw for me, when I finally spoke up when I was about maybe 8, I was dead asleep and I heard whispers of my name. And I remember getting up quick because I'm expecting this woman and she's there staring at me. And I'm paralyzed in fear. I'm 8. And I remember just staying there all night until I finally mustered up the courage to just throw a sheet over my head. And I stayed there for maybe like 5 minutes. And when I pulled the sheet back off, she was gone. And I felt like at this point I had to speak up. I had to say something because I can't sleep at night. I have bags under my eyes. I'm not paying attention at school. So I finally told my mom about it. And my mom is so supportive, believed me, got the house blessed, stopped seeing that woman. Great. Problem solved, right? Then I would say maybe 2 months after that, I started seeing shadows. Like I would see a silhouette of a boy and hear laughter. And it was a shadow. And I thought, oh, okay, that's new. That's not the woman. And these shadows would appear in the middle of the night. And I used to have this really small chihuahua. I loved him to death. His name is Chewy. He used to sleep with me in the bed. And I remember one of the times I was asleep, and this is when I was in like middle school at this point. I was asleep with him in the bed, and he would get up a lot in the middle of the night and start growling at the hallway. And I remember getting up, seeing nothing. It was pitch black, but slowly grabbing him. And he's almost paralyzed in fear too, just sitting there growling with all the hair standing up on his back. And I used to grab him,
turn around and fall back asleep because I didn't want to know anything what was going on. I would always see this dark shadowed figure. It was long, skinny, dark. The head of this figure would touch the roof, like of my door frame. Like it was so big. And I never told anybody that. And not until my husband, at the time my boyfriend, he would spend the night at our house. And I remember one of the times I was asleep, I felt him throw his body over me. And at the time, I'm trying to sleep and he's throwing his body over me. I'm like, dude, get off. And I went back to sleep. But not until the morning when my husband, at the time my boyfriend, was telling me that, hey, I need to talk to you. I'm like, okay, like, what's going on? He's like, no, I need to talk to you. There's something in your house. And I just stopped and I looked at him. What do you mean? Never told anybody this. I don't want anybody to think I was crazy, right? He's like, last night in your room, I saw a shadow. And I just like stood there listening to him. And I'm like, continue. I thought, he was trying to rationalize, trying to figure out, okay, there's a shadow, looks like a person. It's probably like the moonlight, like reflection, right? He looks over to my window, curtains are closed. So he's like, okay, that's not a reflection. That's not a shadow from the moon that's casting, right? So he looks at this thing and he says it moves. It starts like almost walking towards my side of the bed. And it goes back again to his. And then it runs over like to where I'm at. And that's when he threw himself over me, trying to protect me. That's what I was feeling in the middle of the night. And I was telling him, get off me. But he stood there and he threw himself over me. And he said he didn't want to let go. He was paralyzed in fear, didn't sleep all night. And so when he told me that, I'm like, I know what you're talking about. And he's like, that? What do you mean? I go, I've been seeing this since I was a kid. And I just try to ignore it. And when we're having this conversation, my dad walked in. And he was almost like paralyzed in fear. And he looked at me and my husband, at the time my boyfriend, and he said, are you guys talking about the shadow? And I just gasped, like, you know about the shadow too? He's like, yeah, like the really tall shadow, super dark, thin, and you always get like the hairs on your back that stand up. And I'm like, yeah. Come to find out, my dad was experiencing the same thing I was, but he didn't want to say anything either because he didn't want to scare us. After that, I got like a ton of sleep paralysis, kept seeing the shadow. I ended up moving out, got married. We had an apartment. And the creepy thing is when I was in this apartment, a random night I got up like hyperventilating. I couldn't sleep. I was panicking. I had my son at the time. I wanted to take my son and leave my apartment. And I wanted to spend the night at a hotel. And I don't know why, but I was panicking. Like I was scared. I felt like something was in our apartment. And my husband's like, you're fine, relax, you need to calm down. And I was just like, no, I'm not calming down. I was awake the whole night. Come to find out, my parents still live in that house. My mom saged that house that night. I had no idea. So yeah, very creepy story. Creepy house.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. I'll go first.
My mom died in 1994, and the morning after she died, I woke up and someone was knocking on the door. And I knew that she died because I was there, but then we went back to my dad's and tried to sleep. Anyway, someone came to the door, and I answered it, and it was a woman standing there, and she happened to be black, and she's wearing black from head to toe. And I was like, you know what, now's really not a good time. And the only thing she said to me was, I really need to give you something. And I was like, you know, sometimes I would have just been like, no, but I was like super sad. And so I was just like, yeah, cool, whatever. And so I opened the door and she handed me a little leaflet. And I know it was a religious tract, but it said, Life in a Peaceful New World. And I obviously took that as a sign, but, you know, I think everybody would do that. The lady said goodbye, and, you know, I thanked her, and she's like, okay, have a nice day, or whatever she said. But I shut the door, and then like, I don't know, a couple seconds, it felt like later, the weirdness of it occurred to me. And so I opened the door again, and I looked up the street, and I looked down the street, and there was no car, there was no woman. And I was like, wow, that's kind of weird. But, you know, it's not proof. But anyway, so flash forward like 7 years, and my dad has taken ill, and he had emphysema, and like, my mom died of lung cancer. They were heavy smokers. And my dad, he had taken ill, and he was in the hospital, and he was clearly lingering. And up for a few weeks, I think, before he even went into the hospital, he was talking about the lady that he kept waking up and seeing at the foot of the bed, and he'd close his eyes, and he'd, you know, open them again, and she'd still be there. And an interesting point is that this woman that he was seeing was black. And anyway, so unfortunately he got sicker, and he was on a vent. I don't know if it was breathing for him or if it was just helping him breathe, but he had been I want to say he was in the hospital for like 6 weeks, and they moved him to like a long-term care facility, and we were visiting him at nights. You know, we're spending time. I have 2 siblings, and we were sort of rotating, or we'd all be there at the same time, you know, just whatever. Anyway, this one particular night, I was going to be staying the night. He wasn't conscious. He wasn't talking, but he was hanging in there because he's a very stubborn man. And so I had a stack of magazines. I just gotten there. My brother was there. I don't know. I mean, I think he was going to hang around a little while longer, but he'd gone out of the room. And I took that opportunity, because we are not an emotional family. We do not show emotion to each other. So I was feeling a little sheepish, but when I was in there, it was just me and my dad. I walked over to him, and I was like, very matter of fact, I was like, so, you know, if you're hanging around for us, you could probably go, because we're going to be fine. And this really sucks for you. And so right when I finished, I was looking at him, and right when I finished saying that, I looked up and I looked over the door, and I saw legitimately a human form that was like misty white. And when I looked at it, it immediately stepped to the side so that it was completely obscured, like, oh, and it ducked behind a wall. Anyway, so I just sort of looked at the door like, Anyway, I was like, well, that's done. I'm going to go get a snack out of the vending machine. So I gathered up some change, and I'm still waiting on my brother to come back from wherever he was. But gathered up my change. I'm going to go to the little vending area, and I walk down the hall, and I think I passed the nurse's station, because I don't know if I thought I might run into my brother, but I didn't even make it to the break room before a nurse chased me down, and she was like, he's gone. And I was like, oh. So I'm absolutely positive that what I saw was my mom coming to get my dad, and I think she did that very thing. And so that shit's real, you guys. Survival of consciousness is real. So and I've been talking about ghosts for a really long time. It's like my hyper focus. It is the one thing I'm always happy to info dump on. So anyway, yeah,